Friday of next week. Of course, we want you to stay weather aware anytime and everywhere. One way to do that on the Action News 5 First Alert Weather app. Here we go with your 7-day forecast. Goes 88 today. Again, off and on showers and storms. I do not believe everybody's going to see wet weather today. I don't even think that we're going to see wet weather in every single location all day long, but there will be some better chances for rain, I think, here as we get towards the latter half of the morning into the early afternoon hours. Afternoon commute should trend drier. Go into your Thursday, we may have to tweak the rain chances again as we go towards tomorrow, just depending ultimately of how this frontal boundary lays into the area and kicks up some rain chances. I think we keep a chance for some scattered showers in the forecast overnight Thursday into early Friday, primarily for northeast Mississippi. Then we transition to a mixture of clouds and sunshine on Friday and Saturday. Highs middle 80s on Friday. We'll go upper 80s on Saturday and Sunday. Chances for rain 20 to 30% on Sunday. Rain chances to return Monday, Tuesday as that boundary settles back over the area and the persistent flow off the Gulf of Mexico running up and over that boundary. So middle 80s there. We continue with that trend even into next week. Now, again, you don't necessarily see the coverage of rain there, but I will tell you that there is a chance for rain each day through the mid portion of the week. There's still some iffiness in that part of the forecast when it comes down to how much rain and for how long that rain may last, but there's still a chance for some rain showers and of course the cooler temperatures to come along with it, well below average for this time of the year. Average highs 92, nowhere near close to that in the extended forecast. Andrew?
So, Patrick, any of the rain chances severe at all?
I don't see anything that's standing out that would go severe. I mean, yeah, we may have a few thunderstorms here in the coming days that would be pulse-type severe thunderstorms. That's what we normally see in the summer months. A pulse thunderstorm that gets going, might have some hail, some gusty winds. Most will just be heavy rainmakers. That's about the long and short of it here the next couple of days and into the extended forecast.
Okay, meteorologist Patrick Ellis there giving us the deep dive on the 10-day forecast. Patrick, thank you.
No problem.
All right, let's take a look at actionnews5.com as we do most mornings here. We're taking a look at the homepage with the top stories. And what you can do is you can always scroll down and see some of the headlines there. FedEx, University of Memphis athletes sending care packages to the military and other various stories. Also want to always point you to the pull down menu here at the very top of the homepage where you can click on the digital desk and get the very latest interviews that we do on the digital desk each and every day. You can see all of those in its entirety, share them on social media, on email, and through text messaging. I want to go right now to Action News 5's Tavarius Haywood. He was reporting this morning on one of the top stories regarding the power to Elon Musk's new company, xAI, building the supercomputer in Memphis and the power contract with MLGW.
Good morning. The Tennessee Valley Authority confirming with us yesterday that a contract has not been reached. They say that they are still working with xAI and MLGW on the proposal details and the electricity demands of the company. Elon Musk's supercomputer is expected to open next month at the old Electrolux site in South Memphis. Last week, Memphis City Councilman drilled MLGW President and CEO Doug McGowan about the power usage xAI will need and how it will affect MLGW's grid.
You all have been dealing with this information for a long time, since March. We're just getting it. We heard about it in the news, and it's here.
McGowan says xAI is going to need over 150 megawatts and several million gallons of water to operate. At least 50 megawatts are supposed to start going to the company on August 1st. Another 150 megawatts will come from a substation built by xAI. That amount of energy being used by one company did not sit well with some council members.
And you all are just okay. I mean, no problems, but we can't get good electricity on a good day with no wind.
Last week, McGowan said supplying the supercomputer with water and power is not the problem, saying it's just like adding another customer to the grid.
Just the addition of that customer is not going to put the grid at risk. And what you heard some of the council members talking about was frustration with day-to-day reliability. That doesn't have to do with the number of customers. It has to do with the distribution system, some of the old infrastructure that's in the distribution system.
I will be going to a MLGW Board of Commissioners meeting that starts at 8:30 this morning. I will be asking questions surrounding XAI. In downtown Memphis, Tavarius Haywood, Action News 5.
Okay, that was Tavarius for us there. I also want to go to Action News 5, Sydney Gray. She had a story regarding the woman accused of killing another woman outside of the Church's Chicken restaurant last week. She will make her first court appearance today.
Hey, Andrew, good morning. Well, we know that Monica Williams was on the run for about a week before police arrested her just this past Monday. And we also know that she is accused of shooting that woman, 45-year-old Anitra West. An affidavit says that the two got into an argument as Williams was placing her order at that restaurant. The Church's Chicken is where this all happened about a week ago off Park Avenue. West was actually the one working the drive-thru. According to an employee who saw the argument go down, she says that Williams drove off and then West went outside to cool off. But investigators say Williams actually returned to the scene of the restaurant. A witness who was on the phone with West when this all happened says they heard someone say, quote, "I will kill you." Now, both the employee and the friend on the phone say they heard a single gunshot, and there's also surveillance video showing the car that Williams was driving returning to the scene and then later speeding off. Now, as this news broke, a woman did reach out to Memphis police and told officers that she was in the car with Williams along with a child before this shooting happened. She says they actually all rode to the Church's Chicken together, but after that argument, the woman told police that Williams dropped her and the child back at home and told them she was going to go get some chips. Well, we later learned that the woman said that Williams returned back to the home, packed an overnight bag, and then left her home, but left the car that she was driving there at that house. And that's, of course, when that woman would call police the next day. Obviously, a very heartbreaking situation for the family. Family members of Anitra West tell us that she was very hardworking and really loved the work that she did. Williams is expected to appear in court later this morning about 9 o'clock here at the Shelby County Courthouse, and we'll have all the coverage of it for you and update you as we learn more. I'm here in downtown Memphis. Sydney Gray, back to you.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 digital desk. I'm looking forward to this next interview because I found it so timely with what we are dealing with now, with a ramp up to a big contentious presidential election in November. Some of the rhetoric is very much over the top. It's very heated. It's very partisan. And oftentimes there are just situations where people get very upset at the other side. They get very frustrated. They get very triggered, and they want to cancel and among other things, or sometimes even worse. Well, there are ways to disagree without disrespect. There are ways to do things that are not so volatile, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term. There, in fact, is a book that is titled Disagree Without Disrespect: How to Respectfully Debate Those Who Think, Believe, and Vote Differently from You. The author of that book is joining me now, Philip Blackett. He is the author joining us on the digital desk. Philip, good to have you on the digital desk. So tell me some of the reasons behind writing a book like this.
Well, good morning, Andrew. Thankful to be here with you. And I think to answer your question, a lot of times when we're going through our most important relationships, we're going to come across people that we don't agree with on everything, right? You think about family, friends, people you work, as far as colleagues are concerned, people in your neighborhood. And so essentially what came off was, for me, what started as a 4th of July family encounter where my sister and I were talking about an issue that we were on opposite sides of the spectrum on. My mother jumps in to paraphrase, says, "We're not going to get involved with this debate here because I'm not trying to see fireworks before the actual fireworks later on tonight." Where at that moment, while I appreciate her intent to preserve the peace between my sister and I, the impact of it was essentially a lost opportunity because my sister and I don't see each other often. And I think in a world of social media, text messages, smartphones, some conversations are better to be had in person, face to face, than others. But the fear of having a disagreement, though, has a lot of people, myself and my family included, not even broaching that subject. So what came off to my mind was, if that was the case for me, and that's not even talking about politics, money, or religion, but just any distance or difference of opinion on any issue that could run the risk of you getting cursed out on social media, the cold shoulder from family members, or even unfollowed or canceled or unfriended. What can we come up with a framework that's simple to apply, that anybody can apply in their own relationships? And that's what came off this 5-step framework I did in my book, Disagree Without Disrespect: How to Respectfully Debate with Those Who Think, Believe, and Vote Differently from You.
I love it. And, given the course of where we are, not only, you mentioned, not only the political climate, which is so heated right now, but also just, everyday things, whether it's sports, whether it's, how to raise your child, what have you. People get very upset when others just don't disagree. And I'm from a generation where, it's okay to disagree. It's okay to be respectful and disagree. So I appreciate your book taking us back to those times. You have in that book a 5-step framework for practical applications. Tell me more about that.
Sure. So I think when you think about it, there's 5 steps to go about this. The first step is we should separate the idea or belief from the identity of the believer. The reason why that's important, Andrew, is the thought of, depending on the issue at hand, the person you talk to, that issue you talk about, that person may be so intertwined with what that is that it becomes essentially who he or she is. And so to criticize that idea comes off as criticizing that person or hating that person, which is very easy for them to get defensive, raise their wall up, be more aggressive towards you, and maybe even name call, where now the debate is no longer a debate, it's now gotten personal. Step number 2.
I was gonna let me jump in for a second. So how do you bring down the temperature of that? If someone says, "Well, I disagree with this," and the person that you're disagreeing with says, "Hey, that's who I am," how do you bring down the temperature of that?
So we have to acknowledge that, there's a lot of ideas that we are very tied to that mean a lot to us, and that's not a bad thing. What is important, though, is being able to underscore that we're talking about the idea at hand. And this gets into step 2, I would say, where 2 things can be true. I can disagree with your idea, Andrew, and I can still respect and love you as my friend. So something that I was taught in church when I was growing up in Memphis was hate the sin, love the sinner. So it could be a place where I can disagree with an idea, but be very clear to the person that my love for you is not contingent on whether or not we agree. We can still talk to one another, be friends, have fun, work together, even if we disagree. Because I would think to myself, there's a lot of relationships, especially marriages out there, that have gone the distance 5, 10, 20, 50 years down the line. And those people didn't agree on everything, but yet they're still together. So what can we learn from that and apply to our relationships with people that we aren't married to?
So you grew up in Memphis, huh?
I grew up in Memphis. I was raised by my mother and my grandparents. We used to watch Action News 5 with my grandparents every night at 5 o'clock and 10 o'clock if my grandmother would let me. So this is definitely a personal thing, be able to share this with you.
Fantastic. Okay, good stuff. Appreciate that. So take me through. So we got that step. What's the next one?
So step number 3, when you set the groundwork, the stage where we can actually have a talk on the actual issue at hand, we're not getting personal, we're not going to demean anybody. Let's discuss and debate the idea at hand based on its merits. What do I mean by that? We're talking about including facts, logic, research, reviews, performance, results. Like try to make this as objective of a comparison or debate as possible. What we don't want to get involved with, Andrew, is name calling. Because once you get involved with calling people outside of their given name, it's no longer a debate. It's now gotten personal and borderline ugly. We don't want to go into that sort of realm, but we want to keep it on a apples to apples comparison of the issue at hand.
I love that. I know we have 3 more points. We're running out of time, so I'll let you get to those 3 points.
Yep. So there's actually 2 last points. So basically, at the end of the debate, let's do what we did when we were, playing sports as a young person. At the end of the game, win or lose, what did we do? We shook hands and said, good game. Good sportsmanship was appreciated back then when we were playing sports as a young person. Good sportsmanship is appreciated now when we're adults having these type of debates, because no one likes a sore winner. No one likes a sore loser. But more importantly, step number 5, appreciate the person afterwards. Keep the door open for continued conversation, because hopefully the relationship between you two is more important than who's right or who's wrong.
It sounds like common sense. I mean, it sounds great. And it's a breath of fresh air to hear you, Philip, talk about that. And I really hope that this book, just resonates with so many people out there. Of course, we have thousands of people watching us here in the Memphis and Mid-South area. Where can people pick up your book? And are you going to be around town anytime to do some signings?
So I would say the best place to find it is on Amazon. So you can look up the book titled Disagree Without Disrespect: How to Respectfully Debate with Those Who Think, Believe, and Vote Differently from You. Or you can look it up by my name, Philip Blackett, PhilipBlackett. And I still have family in Memphis. Don't have plans in the near future, but would like to go sometime soon to be able to visit. But yeah, Amazon's the best place to go to find my books, or to go on my website, philipblackett.com.
Before I let you go, Philip, was there anything that surprised you putting this book together?
I think the timing, because, when I was growing up in Memphis politics, there's always disagreement. I think what's surprising now is that with social media, with the news cycle the way it is now compared to 30 years ago, disagreements are much more volatile and they're much more personal. And so I think for me, the timing of the book, where it primarily was supposed to help me, I realized was just a greater need for a lot of people beyond just myself.
He is Philip Blackett, and he has written a new book that everybody should at least check out and read a little bit. Disagree Without Disrespect: How to Respectfully Debate Those Who Think, Believe, and Vote Differently from You. Really appreciate you coming on the Action News 5 digital desk. Good luck, congratulations as you talk to others about that 5-step way, that 5-step framework for practical solutions, so that we really respect everyone, even though we disagree. It's for me, it's not a problem. It's not an issue. I do this all the time. But for so many others, it's so hard to do. And I really hope it resonates with so many others out there. Thank you so much for writing it, Philip, and best of luck to you. Believe it or not, the summer has flown by and we're already talking about back to school items, back to school things, making sure our kids are ready to go for the upcoming school year. One of the things that oftentimes gets overlooked is a back to school eye exam. It's so very important. I'm joined now by Dr. Stephen Reed, who can talk more about the importance of an eye exam for all those kids going back to school. And Dr. Reed, good morning to you. I would think that that can really have an impact on learning, classroom activity, all sorts of things, right? Good morning.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you're very right on that. Yeah, an eye examination is not only an important checklist item, it's an essential item. And let's take it back just a moment. There's two main reasons for that. And I want to go back to more of that preschool years, and then I'll talk about how it affects the grade levels. But when a child is born, their vision is not supposed to be 20/20. But just like the rest of their bodies develop, but so does their visual system. Well, if there happens to be something that's affecting that child's vision, then that can change that pathway to that visual system so that down the road, whenever the elasticity of that process completes, then some of those vision disorders can actually be locked in. So it's very important to catch it even before school starts. Then once school does start, it's critical for learning because it's estimated that 80% of what a child learns is through their vision. So we want to make sure we level the playing field. If there happens to be a vision disorder, let's address that. Let's give that child every chance to succeed in the classroom.
Absolutely, 100%. And Dr. Reed, let me ask you this because I'm curious. Over the last, I don't know, 20 years or so, with the advent of smartphones, how has that changed the eye exams when it comes to students, when it comes to some of those teens out there? Are they more deficient with their sight? Explain, and can you also explain how important it is to catch that during these back to school eye exams?
Yeah, absolutely. And so if you think about the way the normal eye works for a moment, anything you look at within about 20 feet or closer, the internal eye muscles have to tighten up in order to focus in to see that clearly. So kind of like focus in a camera. And the visual system is made to be very flexible so that you can look up close and you can see, and you can look far off and you see there, and it goes back and forth. But if we spend hours and hours and hours, especially as children, on these up close devices, then the visual system can actually kind of get locked into that. And you can have initial issues such as eye strain or headaches. Well, your brain can say after a while, let's just stop with all the strain and let's just make you nearsighted. And so the child becomes nearsighted. So now, yeah, up close is nice and comfortable, but the distance is blurry and they have to wear glasses or contacts all the time. So if we catch this early, we can catch the early signs of eye strain, and then we can mitigate that. Many times we can decrease or slow that process down and help the child have a much better vision down the road. And I might say real quick, this is useful for adults as well as children. There's a technique we have called the 20-20-20 rule. And about every 20 minutes of extended screen work or even just reading in books, take a moment, look at something 20 feet or further away, because 20 feet, your eyes are totally relaxed, and do that for 20 seconds or more. So maintaining that flexibility is key, and that can prevent a lot of problems as well, not only for children, but for adults. Oh, real quick, one more thing too. You mentioned earlier about the impact. We right now see double the amount of nearsightedness in this decade versus the previous decade. So it's absolutely making a difference.
I bet it is. All right, so we have thousands of people that watch us each and every morning here on the Digital Desk, Doctor. If someone is seeing this and thinking, okay, I need to get my kid to an eye doctor as quickly as possible, get them before they start classes, how do they begin the process? How should they, look for something like that?
Yeah, well, the American Optometric Association website, which is aoa.org, has a wealth of information. And there's also a doctor locator. So in case you don't have a family eye doctor, you can type in your zip code and a list of doctors near you will populate. And so that'd be the first thing, is just to hop on there. It's also a great source of other eye health information. So I would encourage you to start with that.
Okay, anything else, doctor, before we let you go?
Well, I would say, since we're talking in Memphis, don't forget about Southern College of Optometry, which is there in Memphis, and they also can do a wonderful job and do a wonderful job in taking care of the community.
All right, Dr. Stephen Reed, we appreciate you. Back to school eye exams, so important for all those kids out there across the Mid-South. Thanks for your time, doctor. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. Okay, Andrew Douglas back here in the Action News 5 digital desk. NASA's James Webb Space Telescope. It is the world's largest and most powerful space telescope. Today marks the second anniversary of the Webb science operations, and what a better way than to celebrate some amazing images of the universe. Let's talk about that and much more with a NASA astrophysicist. I'm joined now by Dr. Mark Clampin. He's Director of Astrophysics at NASA. Mark, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm really looking forward to this interview. I'm excited to hear about the James Webb Telescope. I've been following this for a while. I used to cover the NASA program when I worked down in Orlando, but I'm excited to see what kind of images. Tell me about this second anniversary and what it means for space, NASA, and everyone that's excited about this. Good morning.
Good morning. So we're really excited to unveil this second anniversary image from Webb. It's a very special subject for us. What you're seeing is two merging galaxies, and Webb's special infrared sort of insights into what's going on here. So this object has long been known to astronomers as the penguin in the egg. And if you look at it, you can kind of see why. On the right, you see this sort of white egg-like structure, which is, a galaxy composed of very old stars. And on the right, you have this very strange looking structure that sort of resembles the shape and appearance of a penguin. And what's happening here is you're seeing two very large galaxies merging and combining. And the galaxy on the right, once upon a time, was a spiral galaxy, just like our own galaxy. But as it merges with this other galaxy, it's being torn apart by the gravitational forces. And as that happens, gas and stars are being pulled out of this spiral galaxy, and they then collide into each other and trigger more star formation. And that's why you see all these beautiful filaments in the right-hand image. This is a key and important step in the evolution of galaxies. And this is how we get supermassive galaxies, through these mergers of what are already very massive objects.
I loved looking at that. I appreciate you sharing that penguin and the egg image there.
Yes.
How old is that? A lot of times for our audience out there, and we have thousands of people that watch us on the digital desk, a lot of time these images are very, very old because it's so far away. Is that the case here, or is it closer?
So the particular object we're looking at is about 300 million light years from our solar system. And this merger has been going on, we think, for probably around 75 million years. So you're seeing kind of a sort of a key point in the sort of cataclysm is the merger of these two objects, but it will go on for much longer.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Mark. Let's talk about the James Webb Telescope in general. I mean, it's been 2 years now. It's revolutionized our universe. Tell us some of the revolutionary findings that have happened so far in these 2 years.
So Webb has been doing science across a very broad range of different astrophysics problems. But the reason we built Webb was to really try to study the very first galaxies that formed in the universe and understand what happened all the way back to that very beginning as the first galaxies started to form. And we've been able to see back to that era with the James Webb Space Telescope. So we're seeing galaxies that are 300 million years after the Big Bang, and we're finding a lot of surprises. So Webb's telling us that these galaxies are much bigger, massive, and brighter than we had expected from our theory and our models. So as we go forward, Webb is going to help us understand exactly what's going on here. Why are these galaxies getting so big so quickly? Is it black holes, or is it some other physical process at work? We've also been able to start to really understand how stars are born as well. So we're able with Webb to look inside dust clouds. You remember these beautiful dust clouds that have been observed with Hubble. With Webb's infrared vision, we can actually see inside these dust clouds and actually study the stars that are being born in these clouds. And that's very important because there are so many in there. We can study and follow the evolution and birth of these stars from very young ones to ones that already have planetary systems. And that's a key part of understanding where our own planetary system originally came from as well. And then I think that for me, one of the really exciting things is that for the very first time, we can start to study the chemistry of the atmospheres of planets around other stars outside our own solar system and see how that compares to what we know about our own solar system.
It's fascinating stuff. I mean, in addition to some incredible images and some incredible video that you're sharing with us, Mark, the kind of science that's developed and that's studied with the James Webb Telescope is incredibly fascinating to me. Is there a hope that we learn something maybe more profound in the lifetime of this telescope?
Absolutely. I think as we put together the pieces of what happened at the very beginning of the formation of galaxies in the universe, that really will tell us how the universe started and how galaxies first formed. And right now, we still have a lot of gaps. We don't really understand what's going on there. And Webb is really providing us with these new insights that will give us what I think is very, very profound view of what happened at the beginning as these first galaxies formed. It's also going to allow us to really understand the range of planets around other stars in our own solar system. We already know there's something like 5,000 planets around other stars that we've been able to confirm. And for the very first time in Webb, we can actually start to make a very serious study of a large number of these. And that then allows us to really understand more about how our own solar system formed and basically how you get habitable planets that life could have formed on.
I love looking at those images right there, Mark. And, I'm curious because, science at times and scientists can be pretty entrenched in what they believe. Since the James Webb Telescope was launched, has there been a change in any theories or anything that's, been thought of one way, but the James Webb Telescope made us think another way?
I think, again, coming back to the very early stages of the birth of the universe, we certainly had a picture of what we thought was happening. And the first Webb observations are telling us that there are clearly gaps in our understanding and that we have to make more observations with Webb to really piece together exactly what's going on there and how these first galaxies formed and evolved. So it's really creating, I think, new mysteries that we can solve with this telescope as we make more observations.
How long is the tenure, the lifetime of a James Webb telescope? And I understand it's working kind of in conjunction with other telescopes to explore the universe, right? Tell me about that.
Yeah. So Webb is 1,000,000 miles from Earth, and it uses propellant to stay in the orbit that it's in. So we estimate right now that it will stay there, be able to stay there and maintain its orbit for about 20 years. It also works in partnership with other NASA missions. So the Hubble Space Telescope observes in the visible, and other telescopes like Chandra observe in the X-rays. So a good example of how we put stories together and really understand what's going on. One of these very first galaxies that we've been studying with the Webb telescope has been found by Chandra to be emitting X-rays that are consistent with a black hole at the center of this galaxy. So that's telling us more about the puzzle of what's going on there. So these telescopes all work in concert to provide different pieces of a puzzle and help us understand as a whole what's going on when we look at a particular problem.
Fantastic. I really enjoy this conversation, Mark. I could talk to you all day about this stuff. I find it exciting and fascinating. Is there anything else you want to mention to our audience that maybe you haven't mentioned yet about this anniversary, James Webb Telescope, what to expect in the future? Anything else?
I think a couple of things. So one thing I'll say is, somebody asked me a few days ago, do you ever get, tired of looking at these images? And I think it's fair to say I certainly don't. Every time I see a new image from Webb, I'm just blown away. And I think that's really something that all of the people using Webb data, all of our astrophysics community feel when they look at their Webb data that's just been downloaded. They're always both shocked, surprised, amazed, and usually spend a lot of time just looking at the images before they actually think about what they have to do with them. So it continues to really shock us and provide wonder at what's going on out there in the universe. The other thing I would just say is I really encourage people to go to the nasa.gov/web site and take a look at some of the other images. And we have lots of data there that you can look at, was taken by Webb, and there's very detailed explanations of the science that's being done with those images.
He is the Director of Astrophysics with NASA, Dr. Mark Clampin, joining us on the Action News 5 digital desk to talk about these new breathtaking images from the James Webb Telescope. Mark, thank you so very much. We appreciate it. Congratulations on all the success of the telescope, and we look forward to having you and some of your colleagues on in the future. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 digital desk. We have a local author. Her name is Maggie Jamerson. She is from Oakland, Tennessee, and she has a book out that really kind of drew inspiration from her years in the classroom as being a teacher to create a picture book that's aimed at helping students, teachers, and parents improve reading skills. It's called Oliver's Journey. She's joining us right now on the Action News 5 digital desk. Maggie, good morning to you. Tell me about this latest book. It's Oliver's Journey, right?
Well, it's called Only Oliver.
Ah, okay. Well, tell me more.
So it is about a little boy who is nervous about his first day of school. And he's also nervous about reading because he doesn't know how to read. So this book goes along his journey of learning how to read. And what he finds out is that he's not the only one who doesn't know how to read.
Gotcha. And so you have created several books, right? I mean, this is something that has come out of your teaching career. Tell me more about your background.
Well, so this is actually my first book release. I would love to make a series, Remarkable Readers. The phonics has 44 sounds. I am not saying I'm going to do 44 books. However, I would like to continue working and focusing on sounds with students in the book. So I wanted to create a classroom setting in the story because I feel like there are a lot of short O books, octopus, otter. And what I wanted to show were children that were actually learning how to read. So the blending of the sounds does not come natural. And that was what I wanted to make sure was in the book. So there are phonics letters, phonics sounds for the parents to learn how to pronounce those for the child to be able to read. And if reading is taught in a structured and explicit way, then children can learn how to read as young as 3. And if they have learning disabilities, this is the way that they need to be taught, structured and explicit learning.
Tell me a little bit more about your background. You're talking to us right now from Oakland, Tennessee, here in the Mid-South. How long are you a teacher? Are you still teaching right now? And what grades have you taught?
Right. Okay, so I've been in the Memphis area for 25 years. I taught in the classroom for 16 years. I mostly taught first, third, and fifth grade. Within those 3 grades, I mostly taught first grade. So teaching children how to read is my gift. And I've been doing that for 20 plus years. In June of 2021, I decided to start my own business called Remarkable Readers. I hire other licensed teachers, and we guarantee that students will improve in reading or math by 4 to 6 months in 8 weeks. We have helped over 350 kids, and 100% of those kids have reached our guarantee goal or have exceeded our guarantee.
Well, that's fantastic. Congratulations to you, and congratulations on your new book, Only Oliver. Where can people get it?
So it is available today. So today you can get it on Amazon, which is Prime Day as well. And I will be at Novel Saturday, and Novel will have it. Saturday, I will be doing their story time. Then the following Saturday, I am going to be a speaker at Homeschool Yo Kids at the Benjamin Hooks Library, and I will also have some there. I would love for people to stop by. I am signing books. And if you get yours in the mail and want to come by and see me, that would be great. So yeah, there's a couple of things going on where I've gone around to different story times and different activities to share my book and read the story. And I've had quite a few pre-orders. So all of my pre-orders should have received theirs now. And oh, I just remembered I will be at the Arlington Library Tuesday, July 23rd for their storytime reading, and I'll have books there too.
All right, Maggie Jamerson, we appreciate your time. Congratulations on all your success, both inside and outside the classroom. We appreciate it. When was the last time you went to a park in the state of Arkansas? They have such a diverse array of natural wonders there. 52 state parks covering more than 54,000 acres, 1,800 campsites, 208 cabins, 5 lodges, and more than 8 million visitors go each and every year, and families get to immerse themselves in all kinds of things in the natural state. I'm joined right now by Jason Perry. He's the park ranger at DeGray Lake Resort State Park. Jason, good morning to you. Tell us where the park is and the uniqueness of that area. Good morning.
Good morning, Andrew. Thank you for having me on. I am right here at DeGray Lake Resort State Park in beautiful Bismarck, Arkansas. You can see our crystal clear lake right behind me. We're here in Southwest Arkansas and happy to be talking with you this morning.
I love it. I love it. I love Arkansas, the parks, and the beauty of the state. Such an array of different kinds of areas and landscapes, hot springs, Ozarks, I should say. Tell me about families this year. What can they expect, Jason?
Well, Andrew, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said we are diverse. This is a compact state with a ton of unique features here. We've got mountains, rivers, lakes, diamond mines, hot springs, you name it. There's a ton of stuff. And the cool thing is it's all pretty close together. Again, the state's pretty compact. So there's lots of things right next to each other. If you want to spend your whole vacation here at DeGray, we'd love to have you. There's plenty of stuff for you to do for your entire vacation. If you want to spread it out a little bit, we've got plenty of locations all around the state where you can spend a day here, a couple days there, and get just unique, different experiences all throughout the state. So really, the state itself kind of becomes your vacation destination. And the cool thing about all the diverse activities are, it's family friendly. There are things for the little ones. There are things for the adventure bound. There are things for the folks that might be a little bit older, our seniors. Plenty of things, high adventure to just out and relaxation.
We're in Memphis here at WMC Action News 5. So we broadcast to North Mississippi, Eastern Arkansas, West Tennessee. And I know that a lot of our audience loves to go and travel through the state of Arkansas. Any recommended itineraries for trips for families this spring and summer?
Yeah, well, for sure. And kind of where I would direct you is to our website, arkansasstateparks.com. That website will kind of direct you, kind of help you plan your vacation, right? So you can plan it by actual specific parks, or by the activities that you'd like to do, whether you want to be hiking or fishing or swimming, biking, that sort of thing, or by the kind of geographic region that you want to be in. You want to be in a river or a lake or a mountain type park, or by the accommodations. So maybe you want to stay at a lodge, or you want to be camping, or you want to be in a yurt, that sort of thing. ArkansasStateParks.com will help direct your vacation. If you're coming from Memphis, though, you're going to be passing through. As you come into Arkansas, you're going to pass right by Village Creek State Park. And I would be remiss if I didn't tell you about the Ridges at Village Creek, which is a 27-hole championship golf course. It's one of the top-rated courses in the state, public courses in the state, and an adventure. It is really a sight to behold. So if you're coming from Memphis, for sure, I would send you to Village Creek State Park and stop by. And if nothing else, just check out the golf course.
Excellent, excellent. Tell me a little bit more about DeGray Lake Resort State Park, where you are.
So DeGray kind of reminds me of Arkansas State Parks in microcosm, right? Because there's a lot of stuff to do here. It's a lake park, that's the main thing, but we're also kind of nestled in the kind of the southeastern corner of the Ouachita Mountains. So we have some mountain-like opportunities here. We've got 30 plus miles of really professional mountain biking trails. There's hiking trails right here within the park. Of course, there's horseback riding here. We've got tennis courts. We have our own 18-hole championship golf course. We've got disc golf, a full-service marina, which will help you with fishing, kayaking, boating, all those things, all right here in the park.
I know that DeGray Lake Resort State Park is near and dear to your heart, Jason, but if you had a chance to perhaps go to another park, one of your favorites out there, which would it be?
So I would send folks to Petit-Jean State Park. Petit-Jean State Park, again, has those variety of opportunities, but man, it's got a CCC era lodge that overlooks Cedar Falls Canyon. So you've got this big iconic canyon with a 90-foot waterfall, really cool looking. There's sweet trails, there's mountain bike trails. There's some cool bouldering. You have a chance to get a little bit of archaeology. There's examples of Native American rock art that you can access. And one of the coolest places that I like to go there is they call it Turtle Rock. There's some rock formations that the pattern on the rocks, these rounded rocks, looks like the shell of a turtle. So it looks like a whole field of these big giant stone turtles. Great to run around and play on. It's really, again, a fascinating park.
I love it. And one more time, Jason, tell our viewers, we have thousands that join us each and every morning here on the Digital Desk, where they can go to get information on all the Arkansas State Parks.
Online is going to be the place to go, ArkansasStateParks.com. Again, it's going to tell you by accommodation, it's going to tell you by activity, by park specific, or by geographic region, river, lake, mountain, that sort of thing. There's a feature that will kind of help you plan your vacation based on the input that you give it. So ArkansasStateParks.com online, they'll take care of you.
All right, Jason Perry, Park Ranger at DeGray Lake Resort State Park in Arkansas. Thank you so much. Enjoy the spring and summer months, Jason. We appreciate it.
Andrew, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. ADHD is a condition that affects approximately 6 million children and adolescents in the U.S., and it can be so difficult to have ADHD and be in a classroom and sit still, let alone do homework afterwards. So How do we get our child ready for class? How do we get them and perhaps test them and evaluate them to make sure that they are putting their best foot forward when it comes to this upcoming school year? Let's bring in someone to discuss this issue and more. Pediatrician Dr. James Anderson joining us on the Action News 5 digital desk. Dr. Anderson, good morning to you. First off, let's talk a little bit about how prevalent ADHD is in children and adolescents with the advent of smartphones. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you all very much for having me on. And yes, ADHD is very, very prevalent. We end up seeing, like you said, about 6 million patients. That ends up being about 9 to 10% of all patients. And you're absolutely right. The issue with respect to the cell phones and the monitors, what's difficult about that is that those of us with ADHD, and I have it myself, so that's how I got started in this 28 years ago, is that with respect to it, because we don't have to pay much attention to the monitors and things are always changing, it's almost relaxing. So we pop on there with the mindset of trying to do something for 5 or 10 minutes, and all of a sudden an hour and a half or 2.5 hours later goes away. And it really does, it's a difficult thing for us to manage. It's hard for us parents because we didn't grow up with the cell phones and the monitors to figure out how to manage that. But it's so managing your devices is an important thing. Preparing for the next school year. So how do you manage that in the summer? What kind of routines do you have? It's very important to start the kids back with the mindset of, let's think about school thought process at least 3 or 4 weeks before school begins. If they've been staying up late, try to get the sleep-wake schedule on more on par with what they'll be doing for the school year. And if your child has ADHD and you're treating with medication, back to school for me starts the day after school ends. So if you have patients who come in for an ADHD checkup with their primary care doctor or their ADHD specialist, the key is to talk about what, with respect to ADHD, how are the medications working? Are we getting the duration that we're looking for? Are we getting what are our side effects? What are our treatment gaps? With the mindset that if there are newer or different delivery systems that may be able to have us be able to deliver to get the duration we're looking for with potentially lesser side effects or less medication doses, summer's a great time to try those because the parents again are there and are there to be able to oversee them. And so that there's anything wrong or they don't like it, then we can always switch back or do something different. And I think it's really important that once a day medications to extended durations, medications like Astaris, which is a CNS stimulant that's FDA approved for ages 6 and above, is one of the newer ones out there that I've had really good response with. And but I think it's really important for the parents and the patients to come in the summer and try to get that all together and make sure their 504 plans and everything are all set as well.
Dr. Anderson, how do we reevaluate or evaluate kids each and every year? We have thousands of people that watch us on the digital desk here. How do we make sure that our kids have ADHD and are taking the right, I guess, the right path forward to be as successful as possible?
Well, number one, it's important to get the right diagnosis, and that can be done a number of different ways. And your primary care docs can do that. We use what are called the Vanderbilts. These are scores that are able to have us rate them, looking at the ADHD rating scales that follow the DSM criteria to meet this ADHD symptoms. Then we have follow-ups. We get information from both the parents and from the teachers. And if they're meeting criteria based upon the DSM, that helps to make the diagnosis. If we're concerned about other learning disabilities, dyslexia, dysgraphia, things of that nature, we may end up either through the school or privately do some neuropsychological testing, which also goes into IQ and learning disability, et cetera. What's really important in that situation too is having the appointments with your doctors, spending plenty of time to talk about it, but also routine follow-up. So I follow up patients every 3 months. And again, the goal of it is to look at any medication we're using. Are we getting the duration that we're looking for? Are we minimizing adverse events and meeting the treatment goals? And we also need to make sure we're paying attention to things the safety issues with these medications, because all stimulant medications, like the one I discussed, the Astaris, do have a black box warning for abuse, misuse, and addiction. So it's really important to make sure we're monitoring cardiovascular effects. We look for motor tics. We follow growth in children, and we're making sure that certain other psychiatric issues are not exacerbated. So it's really important for that follow-up and to talk to your providers to make sure, A, that I got the right diagnosis with the follow-up, but B, making sure that we're not having this, that we're following the guidelines and making sure safety is of utmost importance, and that we're following potential adverse events.
So let me ask you this. Maybe a parent knows or doesn't know about their child and ADHD. Can you give us some basic signs and symptoms of ADHD that might enlighten some of our audience?
Absolutely. So the main things we look at are inattention. So that would be distractibility, poor focus, and that's not just at school. Maybe when we're at home, are you paying attention when you're talking with your friends? Are you paying attention to the conversation? If you're playing a game, are you remember the rules that we all agree to, or are we making up our own as we kind of go along? If I'm playing a sport, am I paying attention to where I need to be on the field as opposed to kind of wandering about? Am I remembering that if I have chores to do in the afternoon, am I able to do them in multiple step chores, or do I take lots of different reminders? So that the inattention also has to do with distractibility. We're easily distracted by things we're more interested in, and less able to stay with the things that we're less interested in. We tend to procrastinate and put those off. The other symptoms are the hyperactivity and impulsivity, and that can both be cognitive as well as behavioral, meaning that cognitive impulsivity, I say something unfiltered without filtering through with what I'm saying. As my grandma used to say, do you think before you leap? You can have the physical impulsivity. I can't sit still in class. I have to get up and move around. I can't wait my turn. I'm constantly interrupting my parents or other adults or other individuals in their conversation. If they're busy doing something, I don't wait. I interrupt them quite a bit. So those are symptoms that we look at. So inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. When you look at the subtypes of ADHD, we have about 10% of patients are in the inattentive type only. We see about 5% are the combined hyperactive and impulsive, and we see that about 85% are combined. It also presents very differently when you're talking about ages and stages of life, and if you're talking about male versus female. So male patients tend to have more physical impulsivity. We tend to be more oppositional, and it's usually easier to see ADHD in the males. In young women, they may be more inattentive presentation, so they may actually present more with stress and anxiety because women are much better at internalizing their symptoms. So they may present more with the inattentive type, coming in with anxiety, because when I'm anxious or when I'm inattentive, that makes me anxious. When I'm anxious, that makes me inattentive. It becomes a vicious cycle. And so it's really important when you're looking for anxiety and depression in young ladies to also think about the inattentive aspect of ADHD. It's independent of my academic abilities. Okay. And then the other piece of that too is what are the problems that I'm having? So if we're running into academic issues, do I need more time for tests? So we call that a 504 plan. Those are academic environmental accommodations. So do I need extended time for testing, untested time, extended time for projects and assignments, et cetera? And so you can really individualize that by pulling in the teachers and getting the school to give feedback on how the patient's doing there.
So what's the best way to get a child evaluated for ADHD, doctor?
So the first thing to do is to contact your primary care provider, because they should be able to initiate the Vanderbilt test right there in the office. If your provider, your healthcare provider likes to take care of ADHD, that's part of what they do, they will then can go ahead and start the process where we may involve therapists or counselors, again, potentially more testing for other comorbidities or other academic issues, and can initiate the process for the school and the information for the school to be able to start that 504 plan. On the other hand, if your provider is not comfortable as far as used to taking care of ADHD patients, they can help to make that diagnosis, or they may make a referral on over to an ADHD specialist like myself, or they may to a child or adolescent psychiatrist, or neurologist, they may do that as well. But
Dr. James Anderson, I appreciate your time, and it's such an important issue, ADHD, especially in children with the, all the screens that they look at all day long throughout their lives. Certainly, it can contribute to this diagnosis. Anything else you want to mention before we let you go here?
I always tell parents, back to school for me, assessing ADHD or making adjustments or changes in medication management, starts after the day after school ends. So summer is a great time to A, make the assessment, but B, if we do need to make any changes, whether it's behaviorally or whether it's medication wise, where the parents can provide that oversight and feel comfortable with that. And then going into the school year, we're ready to go, meeting any treatment goals that we may have been missing and avoiding any side effects that may have been an issue for us in the previous school year. So summer is a great time to assess that.
Okay, Dr. James Anderson, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, another live look from our High Five camera here, downtown, midtown Memphis, downtown off in the distance, 76 degrees at 8:11. We'll be talking more about showers in the forecast in 1 minute.
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 digital desk here on a Wednesday rather. Here's a look at what we got going on here across the area. Of course, we're still trending towards some opportunities for rain and storms moving across the Mid-South as we go through this Wednesday. Of course, some scattered downpours from time to time. It looks like as a weak disturbance pushes directly across the area, we'll see a little uptick in rain chances as we head towards the latter half of the morning into the early afternoon hours. Rain chances will taper off and the heat will crank up a little bit, but not to the same extent as what we've seen in recent days, and that won't be the case anytime soon. It seems like the middle 90s have gone away, it seems like, over the course of the next several days, and you'll see that here on the 10-day forecast when we get to it. As far as First Alert Futurecast is concerned, looking to the west of us, it's been a very active overnight period and morning period across north central Arkansas, stretching through the Ozarks back up towards southwestern portions of Missouri. These areas here inundated with very heavy rainfall, some spots over a foot of rainfall in just about the last 12 hours, and it continues to rain. Now, as far as this is concerned, it will begin to make some progress eastward in our direction. That will help to facilitate at least some opportunities for some rain and storms as we head towards the latter half of the morning into the afternoon hours. The front is still lodged to the north of us. It's going to start to slip a little farther south as we head into the overnight period tonight into the start of your Thursday, kicking up yet again another round of scattered showers and storms. Little area of low pressure coming out of Arkansas will slide across the area tomorrow morning, kicking up again some more showers and rumbles of thunder during the overnight period of your Thursday into early Friday. Shifting out of here, we should be able to get some more sunshine to build into the area for your Friday, and temperatures running cooler with highs only in the 80s as we head towards the back end of this week. That's going to be a common trait. As I mentioned, not looking to see any upward mobility on the temperatures as we head through much of the next 10 days. Highs in the mid-80s Thursday, Friday, upper 80s coming up on Saturday, same thing on Sunday. And the general trend here in the next 6 to 10 days, well, below average as far as temperatures are concerned. The average high is 92. We'll go with highs generally 80s between now and then. Well, the other part of the forecast is part of the reason why we are not going to see a big surge in heat anytime soon. Well, the heat dome has been shifted off towards the south and east of us. Actually, it's two heat domes, one across the southeastern coastline and one over in the western United States. Lodged in between is a trough of low pressure, bringing us here in the Mid-South a persistent southerly flow. Now, that persistent southerly flow, as a general rule, is going to help to facilitate a daily chance for rain and storms, and also just a muddled, unsettled pattern all the way throughout much of next week. And each time you get a little disturbance to ripple through this little funneling effect here, that's what's going to help to facilitate a chance for rain and storm. So it does turn a bit more unsettled. A little zoomed in view here as we look at First Alert Futurecast as we run this through. On Sunday, a chance for a couple of showers by the afternoon hours. showers, primarily near the boundary as it's starting to shift back northward. The surface boundary that will move through here today and tomorrow will help to come back into the area and stall basically right along I-40 heading into Monday and Tuesday. And each day, that coupled with that southerly flow aloft is going to help to facilitate a daily risk for rain and storms. At times, the rain and storms could be heavy, and that will be something that we'll just keep an eye on over the course of the next couple of days. Something we desperately need. The rainfall, we will get that here as well because we are still running a deficit here in the Mid-South. 88 the forecast high for today. Go 85 tomorrow, Friday, upper 80s through the weekend. Now again, when it comes down to rain chances here in the short term, I think it's an on and off situation. Do not expect that it's going to be complete rain out across the board here today. Even with the 60% rain chance, I think a lot of today is going to be dry. We just have a pocket in the middle that's going to feature better chances for rain and storms. Even tonight, not an all-night washout. There will be off and on chances for rain and storms. Same thing on Thursday, off and on opportunities for rain. We get towards Friday, trending drier, some sunshine breaks. Same thing for Saturday, upper 80s there. Clouds start to thicken up for Sunday, and a late day chance for rain and storms that will lead us into an active start to your next work week and may continue for the extended period as well through the mid portion of next week. Of course, Monday, the beginning of school for Corinth and Mark Tree. Thursday, Marion and Lee County schools getting back into session and may have to tangle with the rain showers, but at least you won't be boiling at the bus stops in those instances, as highs will remain in the 80s, well below average for this time of the year.
About the safest vehicles for this summer. Perhaps you have a teen that's getting ready to drive or is driving right now. You want the very best, safest car for them. And how do you find it? Well, let's bring in someone that can maybe give us some pointers with that. I'm joined now by Brian Moody, Executive Director of Kelley Blue Book. Brian, appreciate you joining us on the digital desk. I was actually on your site last night looking up the value of my car. It's a great site. I love it. But let's focus on this summer and some of the safest vehicles out there for the family and for the teens. What's kind of the number one thing we should all be looking for when we want that safe car?
Well, the first thing is when you're looking for a car for a kid or a teen, maybe even a first-time driver, the kind of car they want might not be the best car for them. So you have to kind of compromise a little bit. You don't want high-performance cars, and you don't want something that sits high off the ground. There are some exceptions, of course. Some kids have grown up in a rural environment. They've driven tractors and lots of stuff. They can handle all that. But for the average kid, high off the ground is a no-no. Big, high horsepower cars, that's also a no-no. And by the way, those things can affect your insurance rate. What you want is a good, safe car that's reasonably reliable, that has certain features from the factory. So you want airbags, of course. You want side head curtain airbags that protects your head in case of a side collision. You want traction control, and you want stability control. You can opt for a parking camera, but that's not necessary because you can always add that later. So don't get caught up in finding a car that has a parking camera from the factory. You can always add that to a car later, and it's not that much money.
Do you think a car would be the best option for some of those teens out there, or do you think maybe a small SUV? What do you think?
A small SUV could be okay if it's relatively low to the ground, say something like a Honda CR-V, something like that. Cars are best. What's interesting is a lot of kids have been telling me they prefer cars because being high off the ground makes it difficult for them to judge their surroundings. And a lot of kids have also been saying, Well, I don't want an SUV. That's what my parents drove. That kind of thing happens from generation to generation. Think about what we didn't want. We didn't want station wagons. So cars are a good place to start. Cars, sedans especially, are also affordable because they're not in super high demand. All those safety features I just mentioned, all of those features, you can find that in a car for less than $10,000.
Good deal. That's a good piece of advice. What about the safest vehicles for families out there? Summer road trips underway here. The best and safest car for that family?
Yeah, if you look at the government crash test ratings, which is the NHTSA.gov, that's the place where they publish their crash test results. You want a car that's a 4 or 5 stars at least, and then there'll be little notes in there. Sometimes they test a car that has optional equipment, so you want to look for that if you're buying a new car. Typically, the brands that perform quite well are brands like Kia, Hyundai, and Genesis. Toyota does quite well. Honda and Acura do quite well. Look for those cars and look for model by model, though. Look for a high crash test score. If you really want to get extra information, you can go to a website that's iihs.org, and they have a little bit different of a safety rating system, but they still give you crash test ratings, and they rate everything from the strength of the headlights to the safety equipment, how the airbags work, all that kind of stuff.
Are there maybe some common mistakes out there that some families make, just real easy mistakes to avoid?
Yeah, one of them is assuming that, any old car will do. And, well, they're going to have to earn the money to save up, and they're going to get a $1,500 car. That's not necessarily the case anymore. That used to be fine, because if you think about safety technology from, say, the 60s to the 90s, it didn't change that much. Maybe there was some better equipment, better seatbelts, but from the 2000s to now, in those 20 years, a lot of things have changed. Anti-lock brakes is one. Airbags is another. And the other thing is, always go on to the government website, the same thing that I just mentioned, which is nhtsa.org or .gov, and look to see if your car that you're considering buying has any open recalls. Of course, everyone's talked about the Takata airbag story. There's lots of cars out there that have been unrepaired, and that's very dangerous. If you have one that's been repaired, it's going to be okay, but make sure before you buy a car there are no open recalls, and especially with the airbags. So people oftentimes look after they have the car. Well, there's a reason why it wasn't addressed to begin with. I wouldn't want to find that out when I'm the person who's the owner of the car. I would do all that work beforehand, and that would help me inform me about which car I'm going to buy.
This has been very informative, Brian. I appreciate you dropping some of this knowledge here with us on the Digital Desk. I leave the last question open to you. Anything else you feels important to the thousands of people that are watching us right now that you haven't mentioned yet?
Yeah, I think one thing that's worth considering is just because you don't have a lot of money to spend doesn't mean that you can't find a safe car. I purchased a car recently from one of my kids, and it had all the features I just said, and it was $6,000. Now, it wasn't beautiful. It wasn't a hot rod or a sports car, but it had the basic safety features. And don't be worried about having to get a new car. Of course, the newer car you get, the more standard equipment it's going to have. But you can go back a few years, 2008, 2009, 2006, and find a car that has all the safety features that I just mentioned for a reasonable price and with reasonable miles too.
All right, Brian Moody, Kelley Blue Book Executive Director. Appreciate you coming on the Digital Desk. Thanks so very much. Very optimistic too. I mean, $6,000 for a great, safe car for your teen. Fantastic news, especially in light of what we've seen with used car prices over the last several years. That gives us all hope who have kids driving, among other things. Brian, thanks.
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 digital desk here on a Wednesday rather. Here's a look at what we got going on here across the area. Of course, we're still trending towards some opportunities for rain and storms moving across the Mid-South as we go through this Wednesday. Of course, some scattered downpours from time to time. It looks like as a weak disturbance pushes directly across the area, we'll see a little uptick in rain chances as we head towards the latter half of the morning into the early afternoon hours. Rain chances will taper off and the heat will crank up a little bit, but not to the same extent as what we've seen in recent days, and that won't be the case anytime soon. It seems like the middle 90s have gone away, it seems like, over the course of the next several days, and you'll see that here on the 10-day forecast when we get to it. As far as First Alert Futurecast is concerned, looking to the west of us, it's been a very active overnight period and morning period across north central Arkansas, stretching through the Ozarks back up towards southwestern portions of Missouri. These areas here inundated with very heavy rainfall, some spots over a foot of rainfall in just about the last 12 hours, and it continues to rain. Now, as far as this is concerned, it will begin to make some progress eastward in our direction. That'll help to facilitate at least some opportunities for some rain and storms as we head towards the latter half of the morning into the afternoon hours. The front is still lodged to the north of us. It's going to start to slip a little farther south as we head into the overnight period tonight into the start of your Thursday, kicking up yet again another round of scattered showers and storms. Little area of low pressure coming out of Arkansas will slide across the area tomorrow morning, kicking up again some more showers and rumbles of thunder during the overnight period of your Thursday into early Friday. Shifting out of here, we should be able to get some more sunshine to build into the area for your Friday, and temperatures running cooler with highs only in the 80s as we head towards the back end of this week. That's going to be a common trait. As I mentioned, not looking to see any upward mobility on the temperatures as we head through much of the next 10 days. Highs in the mid 80s Thursday, Friday, upper 80s coming up on Saturday, same thing on Sunday. And the general trend here in the next 6 to 10 days, well, below average as far as temperatures are concerned. The average high is 92. We'll go with highs generally 80s between now and then. Well, the other part of the forecast is part of the reason why we are not going to see a big surge in heat anytime soon. Well, the heat dome has then shifted off towards the south and east of us. Actually, it's two heat domes, one across the southeastern coastline and one over in the western United States. Lodged in between is a trough of low pressure, bringing us here in the Mid-South a persistent southerly flow. Now, that persistent southerly flow, as a general rule, is going to help to facilitate a daily chance for rain and storms, and also just a muddled, unsettled pattern all the way throughout much of next week. And each time you get a little disturbance to ripple through this little funneling effect here, that's what's going to help to facilitate a chance for rain and storm. So it does turn a bit more unsettled. A little zoomed in view here as we look at First Alert Futurecast as we run this through. On Sunday, a chance for a couple of showers by the afternoon hours, primarily near the boundary as it's starting to shift back northward. The surface boundary that will move through here today and tomorrow will help to come back into the area and stall basically right along I-40 heading into Monday and Tuesday. And each day, that coupled with that southerly flow aloft is going to help to facilitate a daily risk for rain and storms. At times, the rain and storms could be heavy, and that will be something that we'll just keep an eye on over the course of the next couple of days. Something we desperately need. The rainfall, we will get that here as well because we are still running a deficit here in the Mid-South. 88 the forecast high for today. Go 85 tomorrow, Friday, upper 80s through the weekend. Now again, when it comes down to rain chances here in the short term, I think it's an on and off situation. Do not expect that it's going to be a complete rain out across the board here today. Even with the 60% rain chance, I think a lot of today is going to be dry. We just have a pocket in the middle that's going to feature better chances for rain and storms. Even tonight, not an all-night washout. There will be off and on chances for rain and storms. Same thing on Thursday, off and on opportunities for rain. We get towards Friday, trending drier, some sunshine breaks. Same thing for Saturday, upper 80s there. Clouds start to thicken up for Sunday, and a late day chance for rain and storms that will lead us into an active start to your next work week and may continue for the extended period as well through the mid portion of next week. Of course, Monday, the beginning of school for Corinth and Mark Tree. Thursday, Marion and Lee County schools getting back into session and may have to tangle with the rain showers, but at least you won't be boiling at the bus stops in those instances, as highs will remain in the 80s, well below average for this time of the year.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I have been looking forward to this interview for such a long time because one of the best contributors we have since the Digital Desk came online is joining us now, and she is the best food reporter in the business. We're talking about the one and only Jennifer Chandler, back on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Yes, I'm blowing out my newsroom. I'm speaking louder because I'm just so happy, Jennifer, to have you back. How are you, first off?
I am doing wonderful. I have missed our segments that we've been doing, and I am so excited to be back on the Digital Desk as well. It's been a couple of months. I've had some transitions in my life. I have switched newspapers, and I am now writing for the Daily Memphian as their food and restaurant reporter. And I've been there since the beginning of the summer and loving being on this new news team.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, congratulations to you. We're super excited for you to be back with us on the Digital Desk, and you have a new crew with you. And, I loved, of course, we haven't had you on in a while, but I have been reading your articles, and I loved the article. I think I mentioned to you that you offered the ingredients and the recipe for the cream spinach at Buckley's. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to make it. But that's not what we're talking about right now.
Well, I just
Go
have
ahead.
to put a note about that one. It was very funny about that recipe. When restaurants make their recipes, they're these huge batches. And when I asked Jeff Farinelli for that recipe when they announced that they were closing, he said, "I'll give it to you and I'll pare it down." Well, that recipe still calls for 6 pounds of frozen spinach, so it makes an awfully big batch. So you better love cream spinach, but you can freeze it. But that's one of the things too I'm excited about the Daily Memphian is we are adding back in recipes, and it's a former cookbook author that warms my heart. So I'm going to try to every week have a recipe that'll be posted on Saturday mornings. Either from a favorite cook or a favorite restaurant. So if you have a recipe you love, send me a note and I'll see if I can track it down for you.
Right, so 6 pounds of spinach. Guess what, kids? We're having spinach for dinner. I saw it and I loved it, though. So we're not talking about spinach, though. We are talking about the best handmade ice creams all across Memphis and the Mid-South. I know you have an article coming out later, and
Yes.
it's going to feature a whole bunch, but maybe we can talk about a couple right now.
Yes, for sure. So July, no surprise, is National Ice Cream Month. I mean, it's the heat of the summer. I can think of no better time to enjoy ice cream. So the whole month of July is National Ice Cream Month. But this coming Sunday, July 21st, is National Ice Cream Day. And so one of the things that I thought I would do is kind of give a list of all of the ice cream shops in Memphis that actually make their ice cream in-house. And what is so cool, I have 11 of them coming out on a list today. I have a weekly newsletter that comes out on Wednesday afternoons called Table Talk. And it comes directly in an email to subscribers, but it's also posted on the dailymemphian.com. So look for that every Wednesday. And that's going to be the topic for the one this week is 11 ice cream shops you can visit. And there are just so many and so many people doing good things. I'm going to kind of quickly run down the list, but I have to tell you what's so cool about them. People think ice cream is ice cream. Well, ice cream is not ice cream when it comes to Memphis. Just like everything else, we do everything different and better and unique and put our own spins on it. And each one of these ice cream shops is Memphian owned, family owned businesses, and they are putting their own unique spins on ice cream. So, Andrew, as I go through this list, if you have a favorite one that you go or a favorite flavor, please chime in. So
Got it.
I'm going to start downtown and move out east. So the first one on my list is Zia Amato, which is something that opened this past spring. They opened their gelato shop, but they've actually been selling gelato for several years now. But Matteo Cervente is from Italy originally. And during the pandemic, he decided to start making gelato and launched a business where he was selling his gelato to restaurants and in grocery stores. And he has now opened his own gelateria. downtown in the South Main Arts District. It's actually on the ground floor of the Central Station Hotel, kind of across the street from Ernestine and Hazel's, if you know where that is. But he's making authentic gelato. And one of the things he's doing cool, he has for ice cream sandwiches, he's partnered with 17 Berkshire, which is a bakery and coffee shop that's in Overton Square. And she makes fabulous macarons, which are those kind of, French cookies. And so he is making ice cream sandwiches with his gelato and her macaron. And they are so, so good. Definitely the pistachio one I tried was fabulous. So if you want a different treat, definitely stop by there. Then there's another one that I think a lot of people don't know about, but and they might overlook because it's kind of tucked away in the Pembroke building on South Main Street, on the, kind of on that pedestrian part of Main Street. And it's called Margie's 901 Homemade Ice Cream. And Velma Bobo is the proprietor there. There's a picture of her, you can see her. And her shop is really tiny and it's super cute. And she makes all of her own ice cream flavors. She started out, she had originally bought I think it was called Maggie Moo's. It was kind of a franchise, and she was in the Peabody Place. And when Peabody Place closed, she decided to create her own ice cream shop. And that's what she did. She has tons of flavors that she makes in-house daily. And one of the things she just recently was telling me she's doing, she just has moved her ice cream production into the front of the shop so that people can actually see her making her ice cream. So they have traditional ice cream you get by the scoop. And they also are one of those places that does, I hate to say a chain, but kind of like Cold Stone Creamery, where they can like do mix-ins and stuff and make their own concoctions. So that's one of the things that you can do there at Margie's 901. Moving in town a little bit, we're going to hop over to Crosstown Concourse, and there's Sweet Magnolia Gelato Company. And Hugh Balthrop is started his gelato company several years ago. He calls it chef inspired, Southern inspired. He has unique flavors like banana pudding, and I think it's called Delta Pecan for his kind of pecan flavor. And he started in Oxford, Mississippi, but he just recently moved his production facility this past spring to Memphis. But he has his products have been available in grocery stores for a long time, and they're really great. But he now also has a gelato shop that is in Crosstown Concourse. So you can get a scoop, and he sometimes puts some unique flavors that he's kind of experimenting with in that gelato shop. So that's a good place to go if you want to get something you may not find on the shelves. So keeping moving into our town, we're going to hop over to Broad Avenue and go to Sugar Ghost. So Sugar Coast Ice Cream and Bubble Tea is this cute shop. And I will admit, I was doing some research for this article yesterday, and that is my scoop of ube ice cream that I enjoyed yesterday when I was in there. And you're going, what is ube ice cream? Ube is a Japanese purple sweet potato. Yep, you heard me right on that one. And she has made it into an ice cream that is kind of slightly nutty tasting, kind of tastes like pistachio. It is so good. Mary Claire White is the owner of Sugar Ghost, and she has Falling Into Place gift shop right next door. That was her original business. And then when the bay next door to her opened, she took over took over the space and opened Sugar Ghost. And so she makes unique flavors. I think she had a watermelon cilantro sorbet. She has an ooey gooey butter cake flavor that's in the cases right now. That's so good. And she just opened a shop in Germantown.
Yes. So
raise your hand.
Yes, I go to Sugar Ghost a lot, probably too much. And so my wife Tina, she's had the ube ice cream. She loves it. I've had something that, they are very unique. You're absolutely right. I had one during Valentine's Day because they like to do things around the holidays. It was chocolate-covered strawberry ice cream, and it tasted exactly like that. It was awesome.
That's a great flavor. And I will tell you, this is actually something personal, but my daughter, she is friends with my niece's, she's friends with my cousin's daughter. So sort of my, whatever that is, to make her my niece, if it's my cousin's daughter.
Something like that, yeah.
Not really, but whatever relation. Mary Claire White is very good friends with my cousin. And for their wedding, she did that flavor as kind of like, the late night snack at the wedding, and it was in June.
Yes.
It was hot, and she handed those out, and that flavor, so good.
So good. Awesome. All right.
Okay, so we're gonna keep moving. And Sweet Noshings, many know it's been in Overton Square for a very, very, very long time. And the family that owns it, gosh, I'm trying to think, maybe a year or two ago, opened a location in East Memphis. So they have always made their own homemade ice creams. But the ones they have a selection at Overton Square, but the one that they've done in East Memphis is like humongous. They have so many flavors. I forgot to look up what it was. I mean, I think they have over 40 different flavors. But one of the things that Sweet Noshings does is they have an over 21 selection of flavors where they do alcohol infused ones. The ones you're looking at right now was one that was done with Guinness Beer Stout. And it had Guinness beer, that chocolate cake you can make with, people make with Guinness beer. It had that crumbled into it. So good. I think for National Ice Cream Day this Sunday, I think she told me that they are making a lychee martini ice cream or sorbet. I can't remember if it's an ice cream or sorbet for a Sunday. So that sounds very interesting for sure. There's also Kay's Pints and Scoops. Her creamer, she calls it a micro creamery, and it is she makes small batch of ice cream using, flavors. We can talk about strawberry. She has a great strawberry flavor. She's located in Whitehaven. If you ever have seen, you actually know her. She does bright pink pint containers, and she has her ice creams in stores across Memphis. But she does open the creamery on Saturdays for people to come in and buy pints and half pints from her. But she does special events every once in a while, and she's going to be open this Sunday afternoon for the National Ice Cream Day celebration, and they're going to be doing her ice creams by the scoop. So definitely go check out Kay's Pints and Scoops in Whitehaven. And then moving on to Summer Avenue, La Michoacana, which I always feel like I'm saying that wrong. It has 5 locations in Memphis, but the one on Summer Avenue, kind of somewhere between like Waring and Graham, is their largest one. And people really think about them for their paletas, for their Mexican popsicles, but their ice cream, they make all their ice creams in-house. And they're so yummy, and they have flavors that are, obviously they have normal flavors, but they also have flavors like pine nut. They have one that's called the Rocher, like those candies that have like the hazelnuts in it. They do a version of that. They have mango. They have so many interesting flavors to choose from. And again, I forget, dozens are in the case every day, at least. So I go to the one on Summer Avenue, and again, that's the largest. So they probably have the largest selection. But what I do is I go get an ice cream, and then I grab some paletas to take home and put in my freezer. Don't tell anyone I do that, but it's a good trick. Speaking of popsicles, we're going to move over to Cordova and Dipstickle. So Dipstickle is kind of like over there, kind of near Trinity Commons, and she does popsicles, but she makes them with gelato. She has them with sorbets and some kind of icy ones, but most of them are made with gelatos, and she does unique flavors. And so it's like gelato on a stick, and you can dip it in different kinds of chocolate, and then you can also put it in like cookies or nuts and kind of make your own fancy gelato popsicle creation. And it is so good, and it's a small little shop, and I don't think many people know about it, but it's really great. I follow her on Instagram, and she's always doing kind of different flavors and things like that. So every time I'm in Cordova, I try to stop by there. And then I've got one more in Collierville that I'm going to talk about, kind of out east in that direction, which is Levy Creamery. And it is over there kind of by, I think it's Houston Levy, and obviously because of the levee, and oh my gosh, I'm drawing
Wolf River.
Like on the street.
Wolf River Boulevard.
Wolf River, thank you. So they have fun flavors. This is the Fruit Loop flavor that they do. That's one of their crazy flavors. It's so good. It tastes just like, cereal milk and Fruit Loops. So if you remember that from your childhood, you're going to love that. They have their Oreos, their kind of cookies and cream Oreo flavor is called Mustang Madness, after Houston High School. And but it is like cookies and cream on steroids. It has like so many more cookies in it than you would get at any store-bought cookies and cream ice cream. It is so good, and they make all their ice creams in-house. So our last, we're gonna have 2 more stops on my list. Hop over to DeSoto County to Hernando, and Area 51 is a great ice cream shop. They used to have one in Memphis, and I hate that they don't anymore because Hernando is not really on my driving path, because if it was, I'd be there all the time. But she has really, really great flavors, and they really do. It's family owned, and they do a lot of seasonal things. And their blackberry goat cheese flavor has won like national awards, and it comes out in the summer during blackberry season. So watch their social media when it comes out. It is worth driving down there, and just believe me, you're going goat cheese and an ice cream. It's tart. It is paired with the blackberries. It is so good. It's worth the drive down there. And then the last one is one that's been around for forever. Velvet Cream. It's nicknamed the Dip. It's been around forever. And I don't know if people realize that they do make all 30, I think it's 34 flavors by scratch. And then they do all, sundaes and all these different concoctions. I think I once read that it was like well over 100 different ice cream things you could get off the menu there, which is kind of fun. That's kind of like going old school when you go to the Velvet Cream, or the Dip, as it's called in Hernando. So that is my roundup. There's more about all of these different places. Will be up on the dailymemphian.com. Look under the Table Talk tab, because that's where my weekly newsletter is. And it also kind of tells you about the news going on that you may have missed this past week in the restaurant industry.
Fantastic. Jennifer Chandler, it's been far too long. So glad you're back with us, back in the fold, the Action News 5 family. Great to have you back. Thank you so much. Can't wait to eat some ice cream. You scream, we all scream for ice cream. Jennifer, thanks.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll see you next time. Another live look from our High Five camera outside of our studios here, 1960 Union Avenue. We're going to get the forecast in 1 minute.
Talking about scams. I know we all hate them. I hate them. But this next segment is a perfect opportunity to help you learn ways to avoid the latest digital scams. And joining us this morning is Ben Chance. He's the Chief Fraud Risk Management Officer at Early Warning. Good morning to you.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
No, glad to have you. I've been waiting for this interview all morning long because we all know about scams. I spent a lot of time online this morning. So here's the million-dollar question. Can we avoid scams altogether? Is that even possible?
I think you can avoid being the victim of a scam, but unfortunately, we lead digital lives, and scammers know that. So what we can't avoid is that email, phone, text message, or that scam that might be occurring in social media or even in a digital marketplace. So unfortunately, you're going to be exposed to scams as a consumer, but that doesn't mean you have to be the victim of scams as a consumer. And hopefully, I'll be able to provide some tips on how to prevent that.
Yeah, absolutely. So since we can't avoid them altogether, what are some of the common scams that you notice, or some of the current trends that are currently affecting some consumers?
So scammers are smart. They understand what we do as consumers, and they follow those consumer behavior patterns. So during the summer, we tend to see an increase in concert ticket and festival related scams. We also see, of course, an increase in vacation rental related scams. And then as consumers, we typically do home improvement, or maybe we move over the summer months. And so scammers know that, and they target those just normal changes in consumer spending patterns. They know that. They follow us just like, in order to try and exploit that, frankly.
During the summer months, do you see more scams than what you usually see throughout other months?
Not necessarily more scams. Again, it's more of the mix might change towards consumer behavior. So it's not that those scams can't occur during the rest of the year, and certainly there can't be other types of scams, but again, they're really sophisticated and they know what we want to be doing during the summer, and that's where they target us. They prey on those emotions. They know what we're trying to go after, and that's why they present those scam messages to us to try and dupe us into doing something we wouldn't ordinarily do.
Okay, so let's jump right into it then. Let's talk about some of those best practices that we can do starting today to help us avoid becoming a victim. Why don't you just go ahead and break that down for us?
Yeah, so first and foremost, only use Zelle to pay people you know and trust. We invest heavily in both technology and consumer education, and we've been able to drive nearly a 50% reduction in the fraud and scam rate on the Zelle network over the last year, while the network grew nearly 30%. But of course, more needs to be done on both of those dimensions. At the same time, as a consumer, I would encourage your audience never to give away their bank account details. That includes a one-time passcode or a PIN. Your bank's never going to ask for that. If you give that up, you're actually giving away access to your account. And then lastly, I would say don't trust the caller ID that's being presented to you. Let it go to voicemail. If you think it's a legitimate request, call the number that's on your billing statement, if it's your bank or a service provider, or even on the back of your debit
What's
card.
up?
That's the best way
Good,
to make sure you're
good.
talking to an authorized representative of that company, and you're not talking to someone that's trying to impersonate that company and frankly scam you out of your hard-earned money.
Yeah, that's a good advice, and I know that's a lot to take in on this interview, but those who are watching this morning and they want to know more, they want to learn more, how can they do that?
They can go to zellpay.com/safety-education. That has resources on how to spot scams, but also if you've been the victim of a scam, it has resources on how to report that to your financial institution as well as the Federal Trade Commission.
All right, again, that was Ben Chance with those helpful tips. Was there anything else that you wanted to add today
Nice.
that I did not ask you about?
Thank you.
No, just thank you very much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk here on a Wednesday rather. Here's a look at what we got going on here across the area. Of course, we're still trending towards some opportunities for rain and storms moving across the Mid-South as we go through this Wednesday. Of course, some scattered downpours from time to time. It looks like as a weak disturbance pushes directly across the area, we'll see a little uptick in rain chances as we head towards the latter half of the morning into the early afternoon hours. Rain chances will taper off and the heat will crank up a little bit, but not to the same extent as what we've seen in recent days. And that won't be the case anytime soon. It seems like the middle 90s have gone away, it seems like, over the course of the next several days. And you'll see that here on the 10-day forecast when we get to it. As far as First Alert Futurecast is concerned, looking to the west of us, it's been a very active overnight period and morning period across north central Arkansas, stretching through the Ozarks back up towards southwestern portions of Missouri. These areas here inundated with very heavy rainfall, some spots over a foot of rainfall in just about the last 12 hours, and it continues to rain. Now, as far as this is concerned, it will begin to make some progress eastward in our direction. That'll help to facilitate at least some opportunities for some rain and storms as we head towards the latter half of the morning into the afternoon hours. The front is still lodged to the north of us. It's going to start to slip a little farther south as we head into the overnight period tonight into the start of your Thursday, kicking racking up yet again another round of scattered showers and storms. Little area of low pressure coming out of Arkansas will slide across the area tomorrow morning, kicking up again some more showers and rumbles of thunder during the overnight period of your Thursday into early Friday. Shifting out of here, we should be able to get some more sunshine to build into the area for your Friday, and temperatures running cooler with highs only in the 80s as we head towards the back end of this week. That's going to be a common trait. As I mentioned, not looking to see any upward mobility on the temperatures as we head through much of the next 10 days. Highs in the mid 80s Thursday, Friday, upper 80s coming up on Saturday, same thing on Sunday. And the general trend here in the next 6 to 10 days, well, below average as far as temperatures are concerned. The average high is 92. We'll go with highs generally 80s between now and then. Well, the other part of the forecast is part of the reason why we are not going to see a big surge in heat anytime soon. Well, the heat dome has been shifted off towards the south and east of us. Actually, it's 2 heat domes, one across the southeastern coastline and one over in the western United States. Lodged in between is a trough of low pressure, bringing us here in the mid-south a persistent southerly flow. Now, that persistent southerly flow, as a general rule, is going to help to facilitate a daily chance for rain and storms, and also just a muddled, unsettled pattern all the way throughout much of next week. And each time you get a little disturbance to ripple through this little funneling effect here, that's what's going to help to facilitate a chance for rain and storm. So it does turn a bit more unsettled. A little zoomed in view here as we look at First Alert Futurecast as we run this through. On Sunday, a chance for a couple of showers by the afternoon hours, primarily near the boundary as it's starting to shift back northward. The surface boundary that will move through here today and tomorrow will help to come back into the area and stall basically right along I-40 heading into Monday and Tuesday. And each day, that coupled with that southerly flow aloft is going to help to facilitate a daily risk for rain and storms. At times, rain and storms could be heavy, and that will be something that we'll just keep an eye on over the course of the next couple of days. Something we desperately need. The rainfall, we will get that here as well because we are still running a deficit here in the Mid-South. 88 the forecast high for today. Go 85 tomorrow, Friday, upper 80s through the weekend. Now again, when it comes down to rain chances here in the short term, I think it's an on and off situation. Do not expect that it's going to be a complete rain out across the board here today. Even with the 60% rain chance, I think a lot of today is going to be dry. We just have a pocket in the middle that's going to feature better chances for rain and storms. Even tonight, not an all-night washout. There will be off and on chances for rain and storms. Same thing on Thursday, off and on opportunities for rain. We get towards Friday, trending drier, some sunshine breaks. Same thing for Saturday, upper 80s there. Clouds start to thicken up for Sunday, and a late day chance for rain and storms that will lead us into an active start to your next work week and may continue for the extended period as well through the mid portion of next week. Of course, Monday, the beginning of school for Corinth and Mark Tree. Thursday, Marion and Lee County schools getting back into session and may have to tangle with the rain showers, but at least you won't be boiling at the bus stops in those instances, as highs will remain in the 80s, well below average for this time of the year.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. We have a special guest coming up here on the Digital Desk, the reigning Miss Michigan USA. She doesn't just wear a pageant sash, she also wears an Army uniform. She is joining us right now, Second Lieutenant Alma Cooper, who is the reigning Miss Michigan USA, also in the Army. Good morning to you, Alma. First off, I want to ask you, tell me about your path here, because from what I understand, you are enrolled in Stanford. You're an active duty Army soldier, and you're Miss Michigan USA. Underachiever, huh?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really grateful to be here. I think, my journey, my path, it all starts in my childhood and really my household. I had my father and my mother, just two incredible inspirations for me in terms of dedicating yourself to service, as well as, really chasing your wildest dreams. My mother grew up as a migrant worker in this country in the beet fields of Idaho, and won a Division I track scholarship to run at Idaho State University, and now works for the state of Michigan, helping vulnerable and marginalized communities. And my father served in the Army for 24 years. I think that, my mother and her story and my father's dedication to service in the United States Army really inspired me to follow in their footsteps, as well as my mother's path in the pageant system as she competed in the Miss America system when she was younger. And to me, when watching Miss USA and Miss America for years growing up, I was really inspired by the women on that stage and their intellect and their passion for different disciplines and fields, really spanning everything from STEM to business to law. And I think that being able to have that opportunity to walk across the Miss USA stage on August 4th is not only incredibly meaningful to me, but hopefully is an inspiration to so many.
I was going to ask you about what you hope to inspire among others as you compete for Miss USA. I mean, you're at Stanford, an incredibly academically challenging school, and at the same time, you're active duty military. You're in the pageants circuit now. How do you want people to look at your story?
I am a firm believer that if you can see me, you can be me. And I hope that individuals who may hear of my story or learn of my journey to the Miss USA stage know that they can similarly achieve and pursue passions that they are really, really interested in. I think that pursuing a career in the Army, as well as being able to pursue my passion of pageants and dedicating myself to service in just a different form, are really two things that intertwine very nicely with how I see having an impact on the world and being able to reach a larger audience and continue to share a message of hope and share a message of dedicating yourself to something bigger than you are as an individual.
A lot of people might be surprised when they see you. You're very beautiful, Miss Michigan, and then they learn that you're active duty military in the Army. Usually the two don't go together. Is there anything else that might be surprising that people might learn about you or the Army in general?
I would ultimately say that regardless of your background, what you look like, where you come from, you have the ability to pursue any opportunities that may come your way. And I think that with over 200 career paths in the Army, you can be an engineer, you can be a data analytics nerd like myself. There truly is a path for everyone. And I think one thing that's so irreplaceable, you can't find anywhere else, is the sense of community that's present in the Army. And that's one thing that I have been so grateful for in all endeavors that I've pursued as an Army officer.
What are you studying at Stanford?
I'm earning my master's in data science through the Knight Hennessy Scholarship.
Okay, and do you have goals and objectives after all this is done?
So I hope to finish high in my class in my master's program in data science here at Stanford. And ultimately, I hope to be the best leader, person, and individual that I can be in the United States Army, and learn so much. I mean, I have been at graduate school for the first year of my career in the Army, and I'm really excited to be able to learn from those around me when I get to my first unit, and really just learning all that I can to be the best officer that I can be.
Is there anything else you want to mention before we let you go? You have a very inspiring story. You're very accomplished, and I know so many, family and friends around you must be super proud.
Yes, I would encourage individuals who may be watching to visit goarmy.com to learn more about how they can contribute and learn about ways that they can find themselves in a uniform just like myself.
All right, Second Lieutenant Alma Cooper, Miss Michigan USA. We appreciate your time. Congratulations on all your success and all your achievements. We'll be rooting you on in no time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, another live look from our High Five camera downtown. As you can see, the I-40 bridge there off in the distance. 79 degrees, 906, lots of cloud cover. We're back in 60 seconds. I want to talk about a very important issue, seniors facing loneliness. And here's the thing, it is detrimental to their health, physically, mentally. It leads to all kinds of general well-being issues, but there are ways to overcome that loneliness, and volunteering may be the answer. Let's bring in a couple of women to talk more about this issue. I'm joined now by Atalia Sergi, AmeriCorps Senior Director, and Shelly Brosnan, a volunteer. Ladies, thank you for joining us. Let's begin first with Atalia. Good morning to you. Can you tell me how bad this issue is when it comes to seniors and loneliness? Good morning.
Good morning. The U.S. Surgeon General has released a report that shares with us that we are in the midst of a loneliness epidemic. And loneliness and isolation can have far-reaching impacts on a person's health and well-being. For older adults specifically, social isolation and loneliness can contribute to depression and anxiety. The report does have some good news in it. The biggest takeaway is the impact that social connections can make, and volunteering with like-minded other adults getting out into the community can really increase the social connections for older adults. And that can help improve mental, physical, and cognitive health.
Yeah, I totally see how this could happen. Of course, we talk a lot here at Action News 5 about how social connections are so critical for so many people, especially our seniors out there. Tell me more about how volunteering can really help bridge the gap, I guess you could say.
Yeah, so AmeriCorps is the federal agency for national service and volunteerism. And AmeriCorps seniors, we focus on adults that are 55 years of age and older, engaging them in service, helping them to make those connections through our 3 signature programs. We have the RSVP program, the Foster Grandparent program, and the Senior Companion program. And so it really helps them to get out in the community, to make connections, to find purpose. And those connections become really important. So Shelly, who is here with me today, has been an RSVP volunteer since 2016, and she really values those connections that she has made through her volunteerism.
Yeah, Shelly, over to you. I'd like to just kind of dive in a little bit to what was just said. I mean, volunteering from your perspective, because I understand you're a volunteer, what have you seen?
I think it makes a big difference. It makes a big difference in my life. It's very important for me, but I also feel that I know that I'm giving back to my community in a very purposeful way. I'm helping seniors that might not be able to get to medical appointments or get groceries have a chance to be able to do that. They maybe don't have family around, or they're not driving anymore. They can now get to those appointments and get to the grocery store because of volunteers who are out there helping them. And it's a real, I think volunteering it's kind of a win-win situation, because it does as much for me, for my life, as it does for the person that I'm helping. And there's so many ways to give back. You can commit as much time as you would like to volunteering. I do about 10 hours a week, and I still have time to travel, read, exercise, visit with my family and friends. And I've made a lot of friends, so it's widened my social circle through volunteering. I've made friends, and we get together outside of volunteering, but we also see each other at volunteer events. So we build up each other's lives also, along with helping our community.
That's fantastic. I appreciate you sharing with us. I agree, volunteering can do wonders for both the person who volunteers and the organization or the people who benefit. I just wanted to ask, Atalia, back over to you. Tell me how AmeriCorps is involved. I mean, we have thousands of people that watch us each and every morning here on the Digital Desk. If they see this and they want to help out through AmeriCorps, for example, what's the best method to do that?
So we have our three signature programs. RSVP, as Shelley has shared, has flexible scheduling, a variety of things you can do. The Foster Grandparent Program connects volunteers with children and youth to help support them with their academic development. And then our Senior Companion Program provides volunteers the opportunity to give a helping hand to other older adults and those with disabilities, and to support caregivers. So in your area, we have a Foster Grandparent Program, and they support children to develop their literacy skills. They help children who are struggling with their social emotional development. And they also are working alongside early childhood educators. So we have a pilot program where older adults are working in those early childhood centers and have the opportunity, if they want, to become an early childhood assistant. So there are many opportunities. And if you want to learn more, go to americorps.gov/yourmoment. It'll take you to our website. You can find volunteer opportunities. You can find a little bit more about each of the programs I mentioned.
Okay, Atalia Surgery and Shelley Brosnan, we really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much for letting us know about this issue that is currently facing our seniors out there and ways to overcome it. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The first new potential PTSD treatment in 25 years. And helping us or telling us more about this treatment is Dr. Lori Sutton. She's a retired military officer and U.S. Army vet. Wade, good morning, guys. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning. Great to be here.
We're glad to have you on the Digital Desk. Upon my research, I read that suicide rates within the military and veteran communities are increasing, actually from 2015 to 2020, it increased by 41%. Is that accurate?
That is accurate, and it's a serious problem that all of us should be concerned about. And it's not just for veterans. We have a suicide epidemic across America. And when it comes to PTSD, it affects over 13 million Americans. It's not just a military or a veteran problem. It affects our relationships, how we work, how we play, how we function, our families and communities, and it can be very stigmatizing. So it's really important to have new tools in the PTSD treatment toolkit.
And I love that point that you made, not just for the veteran community, but everyone. This can impact everyone. So tell us a little bit about this new treatment. Can you go into details about that?
Absolutely. MDMA is an investigational treatment for PTSD. It's currently under review by the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. It's a pharmaceutical manufactured drug which is delivered safely in a clinical setting with therapy. And it's really shown some remarkably positive and promising results for veterans who desperately need treatment for this complex and debilitating condition.
So how can this, I know you mentioned this treatment, but how can it make just improvements quickly? Like how is this different from certain treatments that we've used in the past?
Well, the current treatments, while they've helped some, not nearly enough. They take time, they're not tolerable, they don't achieve a positive enough effect, they're not durable. And so it's really important to have additional tools in the toolkit. And I think you're not going to even recognize going forward the advances that have come through in addition to MDMA assisted therapy. It's a very exciting time. There is hope on the horizon. And yes, we need new innovative PTSD treatments.
Mm-hmm. And with this new treatment, can you go give us more details about how it is different from previous treatments? What sets this treatment apart?
Well, I think that's an important question, Wade.
Oh, yeah. So I was going to say this, I was in this drug trial for MDMA-assisted therapy, and it's different because it's a two-part. It's the MDMA and the therapy combined. And my experience, overwhelmingly positive. I had previously spent 10 years trying different types of therapies, medications, and treatments, and they stopped things from getting worse, but they didn't necessarily make things better for me. And with this trial, it the drug gives you space to kind of process things in a different perspective, and the therapists are in the room to kind of arm you with tools to navigate that space, and the results were overwhelmingly positive for myself.
Elaborate on some of those positive results. I know you use the word positive. What would you add to that?
So previously, I would say I was hypervigilant. I was always worried that something terrible was just around the corner. It made it impossible to relax, and it just kind of sucked the joy out of life. So having these tools and having processed old traumas and feeling confident that I can overcome new traumas, it makes me hopeful that I won't have to avoid life. I can move forward through it and enjoy life, and just instead of avoiding it.
So who can it receive?
So I want to thank you for.
Oh, go ahead.
It's still experimental right now.
Okay.
It's experimental right now. It's still in the trial phases. It's not available to the general public. But if you'd like to know more, there's the PTSD.va.gov is the national PTSD website. And if anyone is having struggles with PTSD, there's resources online with the VA and other advocacy groups. And if anyone's in crisis, veterans and civilians, just like 911, you can dial 988. And if you're a veteran, just press 1.
This is.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. And just before we wrap this up, I know this is a very important conversation, also a difficult conversation to have as well. But why is it important for us to continue to explore different treatments and to have these conversations?
There is a lot of suffering right now, Taylor, and we have to keep hope on the horizon. We have to keep this conversation going and raise awareness so people know that there is help out there. You're not alone. So thank you so much for your part in helping keep hope on the horizon. Much appreciated.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. We have quality issues when it comes to our air, and I'm talking about our air inside and outside. I mean, there are some issues, no question about it. No matter what time of year, we're going to be dealing with various issues that affect the quality of our air. So let's talk to someone with ways that maybe we can improve the quality of our air inside and out. I'm joined right now by Dr. Nikki Vars McCullough, respiratory health specialist on the digital desk. Dr. McCullough, thank you for joining us here. Let's talk about some of the issues that contribute to poor air quality. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. Air quality can be poor when we have things like droughts, which put dust and dirt into the air, or if there's wildfires, that can put smoke in the air, and certainly vehicles and factories, they also contribute to air pollution.
Yeah, I get that. Those are pretty obvious ones. Can you tell me about maybe the inside air quality that people might not think about when they think of poor air quality? They don't necessarily think that their home has it, but that's an issue too, isn't it?
Yes, there's things that you do in your home that put particles in the air. And it can be especially important to stop doing these things or reduce them when the air quality outside is poor as well. These are things like burning candles or cooking like really smoky, oily dishes, or even vacuuming if you don't have a vacuum with a high efficiency filter in it.
Now, I understand that there is an air quality index, Dr. McCullough. It's monitored by the EPA. Can you tell me a little bit about that and how can we benefit?
Yeah, the air quality index can help you understand how good or bad the air is in your direct area. And the EPA monitors for this, and you can find out information on this website called AirNow, or any weather app will share it with you. And when the number is low, below 50, that means the air is very good for everyone. When the number starts to get above 50, that's when people who are sensitive to poor air quality might want to start to take precautions. And when we see numbers up in the hundreds, that is when everyone should start to take precautions.
So how do we improve or maintain good air quality inside of our home? You mentioned a few things with the vacuum and cooking with certain oils that give off a lot of smoke. Anything else to maybe improve our air quality inside?
Yeah, one thing you can do is use a high efficiency air filter, one with a MERV 13 or higher rating, such as Filtrete. Now, if you have an HVAC system in your home, you can close your windows and doors and put a high efficiency air filter into your furnace and run that continuously. I live in a home that has radiators, so I don't have forced air. I use portable air cleaners with a high efficiency filter. And if you don't want to buy one of those, you can make one using a furnace filter like Filtrete and a box fan, and the EPA has instructions on their website.
Ooh, I like that. We're always looking for cost-effective ways and various things we can do cost-effectively to clean up our air. You mentioned the EPA has a way to do kind of a do-it-yourself type of filter. Where can we go for that information?
You can go to the EPA's website, which is epa.gov. You also can get instructions on the cdc.gov or 3M's website, 3m.com/wildfire safety.
Okay, Dr. Nikki Vars McCullough, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for giving us some helpful hints to really improve that air quality all around us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 digital desk here on a Wednesday rather. Here's a look at what we got going on here across the area. Of course, we're still trending towards some opportunities for rain and storms moving across the Mid-South as we go through this Wednesday. Of course, some scattered downpours from time to time. It looks like as a weak disturbance pushes directly across the area, we'll see a little uptick in rain chances as we head towards the latter half of the morning into the early afternoon hours. Rain chances will taper off and the heat will crank up a little bit, but not to the same extent as what we've seen in recent days, and that won't be the case anytime soon. It seems like the middle 90s have gone away, it seems like, over the course of the next several days, and you'll see that here on the 10-day forecast when we get to it. As far as First Alert Futurecast is concerned, looking to the west of us, it's been a very active overnight period and morning period across north central Arkansas, stretching through the Ozarks back up towards southwestern portions of Missouri. These areas here inundated with very heavy rainfall, some spots over a foot of rainfall in just about the last 12 hours, and it continues to rain. Now, as far as this is concerned, it will begin to make some progress eastward in our direction. That will help to facilitate at least some opportunities for some rain and storms as we head towards the latter half of the morning into the afternoon hours. The front is still lodged to the north of us. It's going to start to slip a little farther south as we head into the overnight period tonight into the start of your Thursday, kicking up yet again another round of scattered showers and storms. Little area of low pressure coming out of Arkansas will slide across the area tomorrow morning, kicking up again some more showers and rumbles of thunder during the overnight period of your Thursday into early Friday. Shifting out of here, we should be able to get some more sunshine to build into the area for your Friday, and temperatures running cooler with highs only in the 80s as we head towards the back end of this week. That's going to be a common trait. As I mentioned, not looking to see any upward mobility on the temperatures as we head through much of the next 10 days. Highs in the mid-80s Thursday, Friday, upper 80s coming up on Saturday, same thing on Sunday. And the general trend here in the next 6 to 10 days, well, below average as far as temperatures are concerned. The average high is 92. We'll go with highs generally 80s between now and then. Well, the other part of the forecast is part of the reason why we are not going to see a big surge in heat anytime soon. Well, the heat dome has been shifted off towards the south and east of us. Actually, it's two heat domes, one across the southeastern coastline and one over in the western United States. Lodged in between is a trough of low pressure, bringing us here in the Mid-South a persistent southerly flow. Now, that persistent southerly flow, as a general rule, is going to help to facilitate a daily chance for rain and storms, and also just a muddled, unsettled pattern all the way throughout much of next week. And each time you get a little disturbance to ripple through this little funneling effect here, that's what's going to help to facilitate a chance for rain and storm. So it does turn a bit more unsettled. A little zoomed in view here as we look at First Alert Futurecast as we run this through. On Sunday, a chance for a couple of showers by the afternoon hours, primarily near the boundary as it's starting to shift back northward. The surface boundary that will move through here today and tomorrow will help to come back into the area and stall basically right along I-40 heading into Monday and Tuesday. And each day, that coupled with that southerly flow aloft is going to help to facilitate a daily risk for rain and storms. At times, the rain and storms could be heavy, and that will be something that we'll just keep an eye on over the course of the next couple of days. Something we desperately need. The rainfall, we will get that here as well because we are still running a deficit here in the Mid-South. 88 the forecast high for today. Go 85 tomorrow, Friday, upper 80s through the weekend. Now again, when it comes down to rain chances here in the short term, I think it's an on and off situation. Do not expect that it's going to be a complete rain out across the board here today. Even with the 60% rain chance, I think a lot of today is going to be dry. We just have a pocket in the middle that's going to feature better chances for rain and storms. Even tonight, not an all-night washout. There will be off and on chances for rain and storms. Same thing on Thursday, off and on opportunities for rain. We get towards Friday, trending drier, some sunshine breaks. Same thing for Saturday, upper 80s there. Clouds start to thicken up for Sunday, and a late day chance for rain and storms that will lead us into an active start to your next work week and may continue for the extended period as well through the mid portion of next week. Of course, Monday, the beginning of school for Corinth and Mark Tree. Thursday, Marion and Lee County schools getting back into session and may have to tangle with the rain showers, but at least you won't be boiling at the bus stops in those instances, as highs will remain in the 80s, well below average for this time of the year.
little bit about pickleball. We've talked about how it is the fastest growing sport in the U.S. right now. There has been a report released, 36.5 million people have played pickleball at least once in the last year. That's 14% of the adult population. But here's the thing, with all these people playing pickleball, and some of those games and some of those matches are very competitive. I've seen it firsthand. There are injuries associated with pickleball. In fact, Memphis's own Campbell Clinic just released the first and only study of its kind talking about the most common injuries when it comes to pickleball. Let's talk to someone who knows a little bit about this recent study. I have the pleasure now to join, to have Dr. Fred Azar, Chief of Staff of Campbell Clinic, joining us on the Action News 5 digital desk. Dr. Azar, always good to see you. How are things at Campbell Clinic? Good morning.
Great to see you. Thanks for having me. Everything's
Appreciate
great.
you being here. So let's talk about this first of its kind study that really kind of dives deep into some of the most common injuries associated with pickleball.
So we noticed a few years ago that we had some patients coming in with these pickleball injuries, and there was a little bit of a pattern. People in their 50s, 60s, and 70s were coming in with injuries, and we felt like there was a need to make them aware that these injuries could happen playing pickleball. So we looked around the literature, and there was really not much in the literature to educate our patients. So we decided to do this study. We wanted to, first of all, review the literature to see what was out there. And secondly, we launched a survey so we could get our patients to participate in this survey to give us information that we could provide broadly. So we published this study. It's not published yet, but it's been accepted for publication. It'll be out soon. It's got information on raising the awareness of pickleball injuries, review the literature, and also we've included our survey with some information there on some recommendations on how to avoid injuries.
So let's talk about some of the most common injuries that you saw in this study when it came to pickleball.
So we found that we've so far have over 500 participants. This is our survey, not the raw literature, but it's pretty much in sync with what's out there in the literature. About 55% were women, 45% men, and 2/3 were more than 55 years of age. The majority of injuries are soft tissue injuries, meniscal tears, tendonitis like Achilles tendonitis or rotator cuff tendonitis, back strains, ankle sprains are pretty common. About 40% were fractures, the most common being wrist fractures from falls, usually backwards when attempting to go back to make a shot.
Got it. Are there maybe some best practices? We have so many people that love pickleball. Are there maybe some best practices out there to try and prevent some of these injuries, doctor?
Certainly, the number one thing is awareness. You can get hurt. This is a sport that's relatively new. Just raising the awareness for that. Certainly, warming up is really important. You want to be able to warm up and cool down properly, just like you do with any sport. You need proper equipment, so shoe wear is really important. Running shoes aren't great for it. A tennis shoe is better, it's a more low-profile shoe. Some people want to brace a knee or an ankle if they've got an ailment. That's important to do. And also really moderation and cross-training. It's not great to play this sport 5 days a week, 3 hours at a time. You're going to come in with some overuse injury. Hydration is really important too. We actually found that, and I don't mean alcohol, we found that 6% of participants, at least in our survey, were consuming alcohol while playing the sport. So it's really important to think about hydrating, but not in that respect. It's a pretty social sport, but hydrating without alcohol is a pretty good way to go. And then really play to your level. Don't try and play somebody who's going to be a lot tougher than you competition-wise. Play to your level. Listen to your body. So if you think you've got something brewing, step aside and let somebody else play.
Alcohol during pickleball, that sounds crazy and scary and something that no one should be able to do. I mean, because
it's not like golf.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on there. I mean, where I work out at my gym, there are pickleball courts, and they're always packed, and there are some fierce games. And you're part of the Memphis Mid-South area. I mean, you've seen all these pickleball courts going up everywhere. I mean, it is growing fast across the country and here in the U.S. Some people think it's an older person's sport, but I'm seeing everybody, young, old, all demographics playing this sport. Anything else you'd like to share, Dr. Azar, about this to maybe kind of minimize anyone getting hurt?
Well, you're right. There's usually it started out as an older person sport, but now everybody's playing it. I think that the important thing for us is to bring awareness to patients and people that are playing the sport that you can become injured. And raising that awareness we think is really important. And then giving some information on how we can do to prevent injuries. That's what we're all about, injury prevention. And people that want to participate in our survey, go to campbellclinic.com. You can click on the link to the survey. We're trying to get more information out there so we can build a survey and we can advance the knowledge of this sports to all people who are participating in it.
Okay, so 500 participants, a part of this study, and you said, is it posted right now on campbellclinic.com so our viewers can see for themselves?
The survey's available. The publication will be out soon, and we'll have that link too. But we want people to participate in the survey. Again, we've got over 500 people so far. We want to add to that survey.
Got it. All right, Dr. Fred Azar, Campbell Clinic Chief of Staff. Really appreciate your time on the digital desk. Feel free to come on any other time to keep us up to date on whatever's happening, pickleball or not. Thanks so very much. There is a new survey out there where it says businesses are failing to unlock the full potential of their employees. Workforce experts are sharing why some of the most talented strategies are ineffective and how executives can build resilient teams in the age of AI, artificial intelligence. This new survey was by Kelly. This is Kelly Professional and Industrial, and they found businesses are failing to unlock that full potential and is holding back growth for most organizations. Let's bring in someone to talk more about what this survey said. I'm joined now by Tim Dupree. He's the president of Kelly Professional and Industrial, joining us on the Action News 5 digital desk. So, Tim, good morning to you. I appreciate you joining us. Tell us what this survey found, some of the highlights of this survey, who was surveyed, and what the results were. Good morning.
Good morning, Andrew. Thanks for having me. Yeah, we did a survey across 13 countries, across 8 industries, 1,500 executives, hundreds of talent. And what we found is a pretty significant mismatch between what employees think needs to happen versus what they're actually experiencing. In fact, let me share 3 key findings that we have. First, talent strategies are just not effective. 4 in 10 companies that we talk to are not unlocking the full potential of their workforce. 2, more than half of the companies we spoke with say that due to ineffective workforce planning, it's really holding back business growth for them. And then 3rd, over half the executives we surveyed tell us that they're missing out on business opportunities due to a lack of skilled talent.
What are some of the biggest challenges that employers are facing right now? I guess biggest talent challenges.
Sure. Well, we already talked about missing out on the business opportunities, which is obviously pretty significant. But what we found is one of the reasons they're missing out on the business opportunities is they just don't have good visibility to the existing skills of their own workforce. Additionally, one of the things that we learned is that while upskilling talent is a top priority for many executives, when we talk to the talent, only 25% of them have actually claimed to received any kind of training to prepare them for their next career opportunity. Talent has told us that the lack of skill development and career progression is really frustrating them. And frankly, executives that we talk to recognize this and tell us they know this is why they're losing employees as a result.
Does the survey, Tim, reveal anything about employees and maybe some of their biggest frustrations?
It absolutely does. And we'll talk a little bit about artificial intelligence. Companies have actually turned to AI to solve lots of challenges. And in fact, in many cases, it's driven better productivity and more efficiency. In fact, 2/3 of the companies that we talk to are implementing or planning to implement artificial intelligence, yet the workforce just doesn't feel prepared. In fact, 40% of them have told us that they don't feel positive about the impact of AI as a result. I'll also share that in terms of frustrations, this feeling of taking a step back is very real. 1/3 of talent feels this way, and they feel that either their job security is worse, their mental and physical well-being is worse recently, all as a result of the training and development that they feel like that they haven't received.
So how do we fix this? And what is AI doing to disrupt the workforce right now?
Well, I'll share that one of the things that we did learn in the report is to your question on how do we fix it. We have leading companies, what we would call resilient leading companies that have developed clear strategies around technology and artificial intelligence, making appropriate investments in training and development, as well as bringing the workforce alongside them in the journey. So the worker does not feel like something is being done to them. They're actually participating with their employer to figure out the best way to implement AI throughout their organization.
Is there a way that perhaps employees and employers can look at some of these findings and maybe talk more about it? Is there a place online?
Yeah, there is. You can go and online and look at the full report at kellyrework.com. You can always visit our website at kellyservices.com. Or for job opportunities, feel free to download Kelly Now, which is our digital app, through Android or Apple iOS.
Anything else you want to mention about this study, the findings, and ways that employers and employees can benefit?
Sure. I would say one of the other things that we found of some of the top companies that have really embraced being a resilient company are partnering with workforce solution providers like Kelly to build better workforce planning capability. I already talked about developing clear strategies around technology and artificial intelligence, but I would also tell you driving a very intentional and inclusive culture and doubling down on commitments to diversity, equity, inclusion, as an example, I think is really important. And quite frankly, some of the things that we found very consistent among top performing organizations.
Okay, Tim Dupree, Kelly Professional Industrial President. We appreciate your time. Thanks for breaking down this study, and hopefully some people will really be able to extract from that some of these results and benefit in some form or fashion. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Thanks for tuning in, sticking with us all throughout the morning here. I'm Sydney Gray. I'm in for Andrew right now. Y'all, we have a very special guest who I'm so excited to introduce. I can't get the smile off my face. Jimmy Hart, the one and only, is here. He's here in the studio, live with us, in the newsroom, I should say, to talk about a very special thing that he's got going on. So we're going to put Jimmy up. Hey, Jimmy, how are you doing today?
How you doing, girl? It's great to be back in Memphis.
How does it feel?
If you know what, every time I come back here, I love it. You know, every time I make a pilgrimage back here, I see the Jerry the King Lawler. You know, we got a big wrestling show going on this coming Saturday, a couple of days from now. That's going to be in Jonesboro, Arkansas. It's kind of like the wrestling gets back together again with Billy Superstar Dundee, myself, Coco Beware, Downtown Bruno, Ricky Morton, one half of the Rock and Roll Express, and of course the list goes on and on and on. It's an all-day event starting at 10 in the morning till the wee hours of the morning, 7 big matches. But I'm here for the inductions of the Gentrys to the Memphis Music Hall of Fame.
Let's talk about it. It's happening here soon. Well, in a couple months, in September, you're going to be inducted. How does that feel for you?
You know, it feels great. You know, it just seems like yesterday, which is really a stretch of my imagination, as old as I am now. But, you know, we all went to Treadwell High School together, and we just had a dream of putting a band together. We put the band together, and the next thing you know, we're down at Lansky Brothers buying all these crazy outfits so we can wear on American Bandstand, Hullabaloo, Shindig, where the action is in the movie Bikini World, and the next thing, it's history.
Yeah. But you're already a Hall of Famer. I mean, you're kind of a big deal. Can you show us that ring that's on your finger this morning?
This is my WWE Hall of Fame ring. You know, what was so crazy, I've had 3 phone calls, Sydney, in my life that's changed my life. One was from Larry Raspberry when he put the group, the Gents, together. Later on, we became the Gentrys. And then I had a phone call after that several years later, well, many years later, from Jerry the King Lawler when he wanted me to join Memphis Championship Wrestling down here and manage him. And then after 6 years here on Channel 5 right here, I had another phone call from Vince McMahon, and all of a sudden I'm in New York City and WWE Hall of Famers.
WWE Hall of Famer, but I feel like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like this one might be just a little bit more special. I mean, the Memphis Music Hall of Fame. Can you tell me how that compares to the WWE and just how you're feeling right now?
Oh, listen, I am so excited because, look, right here, it's our very first album. I don't know if you can get a shot of that. This is our very first album with all the band members together. This was our second album. We've had 2. We've really had 3, a Golden Hits album. How you get a Golden Hits album after a one-hit record, I don't know, but they did it. And, of course, then when our original group broke up, you know, one by one, everybody left. I went to Sun Studio with Knox Phillips. He produced this album on us. We had 2 hits off this with the Gentrys. Cinnamon Girl, that was a top 40 hit on Billboard, and Why Should I Cry, which was a top 50 hit. So we've kind of kept the name of the Gentrys alive through all these years.
I love it. Y'all had international success, though.
Yes.
You've got some albums to show me here as well, or some singles, I should say. One of them's from Japan, correct?
Right.
Show me that one.
This one's from Japan. We had them out in Japan, Germany, Australia, and this is one that we had out from Holland. So, you know,
amazing.
We've had all these singles and everything, so we've been so blessed. Shout out to some of my band members that are going to be there with us. We're going to be, I think the show's at September the 27th.
Correct.
And so a lot of people are, Wilson Pickett's going in, one of my favorite songs, I'm going away to the midnight hour. I love Wilson Pickett. But, you know, John Doyle, for the Memphis Hall of Fame series, he called us and said, we're going to induct y'all into the Hall of Fame this year. And I said, are you sure you're not trying to call Bobby Gentry? And he laughed. He said, no, it's the Gentrys. But, you know, we had the greatest drummer of all time, Larry Wall. What a great drummer. They used to call us the Memphis Beatles because in high school we had our hair kind of long, right?
Yeah.
And I remember one day our principal says, if y'all don't cut your hair, you boys ain't going to be on stage. And I think Larry or somebody said, well, Mr. Mabry, we're on stage so much all the time anyhow, I guess we could miss one night. He didn't like that, but we did trim our hair for it. But Larry Wall, great drummer for us back then. We called him Ringo because he reminded us of the Beatles. One of our singers in the group, which was awesome, which was Bruce Bowles. He looked like John Lennon. The girls loved him. We kind of had the Memphis Horns before the Memphis Horns with Jimmy Johnson and Bobby Fischer. They played keyboards each and also doubled on saxophone and horns. Pat Neal was our bass player, kind of like Duck Dunn and Booker T and them. Of course, Larry was our leader back in the day. He booked the trips. He booked the gigs. He arranged the songs. He did everything for us. And you know, we love Larry. So the Gentrys are getting back together one more big time.
I want to ask you this. Tell me, how does it feel, just this recognition as a Memphian and just being back here in this city? What does that feel like for you?
Well, you know what? I still feel so good. It seems like the older you get, the more things mean. You know, it's hard to kill a memory, everybody says, Sydney. But I'll tell you what's so special about this. my good buddy Jason picked me up today, and when he picked me up, he's part of the wrestling show we're doing this weekend. He picked me up, and Space Cowboy is what I called him. We went over. The first thing we did was we're going to do this interview now. When we leave here, we're going to go see Hal Lansky at Lansky Brothers, where we used to buy all of our original Gentry's outfit. That's where back in the day, Sydney, Elvis bought his stuff there. Jerry Lee Lewis, Carl Perkins, Isaac Hayes, Rufus Thomas. That was the big thing back then. And as the early days of the Gentrys, when we were just playing the T. Walker Lewis YMCA or the sock hops around town, that our dream was to get enough money to go buy these clothes at Lansky Brothers. But it feels so good to come back. What I'm leading to is we're going to go by and see him, which is down on Beale Street over there. We're going to see him today before we leave, get a couple of things there, and then we're going to go eat at the Cupboard and eat at Tops Barbecue and eat at Corky's, all of my favorite places here.
Memphis
but I love
all the way.
Food. Yeah, Sydney, it's great.
I love it. I love it. So before we let you go, really appreciate you being here, first of all, just gracing us with your presence back here at 1960 Union. But before you go, can you talk one more time about the event you were telling us about earlier with Jerry Lawler? Can you go back to that?
Yes, Jerry Lawler, he's doing so much better. Had a little health scare a couple of months ago, but he's batting a home run now. But we're going to be in Jonesboro, Arkansas this weekend, and it's just so many great people that are going to be on that show. But it starts at like 10 o'clock in the morning. It's kind of a fan fest, wrestling fan. They got vendor tables. All the wrestlers will be signing autographs. David Schultz is going to be there. Jerry Lawler, Bill Dundee, me, the Mouth of South, Jimmy Hart, Downtown Bruno. Even one of our favorite DJs over there that used to work over here at Channel 5 is the manager, Brandon Baxter. He's a hot DJ over in Jonesboro now. So we're going to see him later on tomorrow. But it's Coco Beware. The list just goes on and on and on and on. And Tommy Rich, we're just going to have a great time and just get to meet our fans again, get to talk to them about the wrestling, get to talk to them about the music. And then in September, the Gentrys are going to get together one more big time and get this award.
One more time. Well, congratulations to you. We're all very happy for you. And again, thank you for joining us right here live at the Digital Desk. Happy to see your ring, and I'm really happy for all the things that are coming in the future. Thank you so much, Jimmy Hart. Appreciate it.
Sydney, we love you. It's great to be back at Channel 5.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk here on a Wednesday rather. Here's a look at what we got going on here across the area. Of course, we're still trending towards some opportunities for rain and storms moving across the Mid-South as we go through this Wednesday. Of course, some scattered downpours from time to time. It looks like as a weak disturbance pushes directly across the area, we'll see a little uptick in rain chances as we head towards the latter half of the morning into the early afternoon hours. Rain chances will taper off and the heat will crank up a little bit, but not to the same extent as what we've seen in recent days, and that won't be the case anytime soon. It seems like the middle 90s have gone away, it seems like, over the course of the next several days, and you'll see that here on the 10-day forecast when we get to it. As far as First Alert Futurecast is concerned, looking to the west of us, it's been a very active overnight period and morning period across north central Arkansas, stretching through the Ozarks back up towards southwestern portions of Missouri. These areas here inundated with very heavy rainfall, some spots over a foot of rainfall in just about the last 12 hours, and it continues to rain. Now, as far as this is concerned, it will begin to make some progress eastward in our direction. That will help to facilitate at least some opportunities for some rain and storms as we head towards the latter half of the morning into the afternoon hours. The front is still lodged to the north of us. It's going to start to slip a little farther south as we head into the overnight period tonight into the start of your Thursday, kicking up yet again another round of scattered showers and storms. Little area of low pressure coming out of Arkansas will slide across the area tomorrow morning, kicking up again some more showers and rumbles of thunder during the overnight period of your Thursday into early Friday. Shifting out of here, we should be able to get some more sunshine to build into the area for your Friday, and temperatures running cooler with highs only in the 80s as we head towards the back end of this week. That's going to be a common trait. As I mentioned, not looking to see any upward mobility on the temperatures as we head through much of the next 10 days. Highs in the mid 80s Thursday, Friday, upper 80s coming up on Saturday. Same thing on Sunday. And the general trend here in the next 6 to 10 days, well, below average as far as temperatures are concerned. The average high is 92. We'll go with highs generally 80s between now and then. Well, the other part of the forecast is part of the reason why we are not going to see a big surge in heat anytime soon. Well, the heat dome has then shifted off towards the south and east of us. Actually, it's two heat domes, one across the southeastern coastline and one over in the western United States. Lodged in between is a trough of low pressure, bringing us here in the mid-south a persistent southerly flow. Now, that persistent southerly flow, as a general rule, is going to help to facilitate a daily chance for rain and storms, and also just a muddled, unsettled pattern all the way throughout much of next week. And each time you get a little disturbance to ripple through this little funneling effect here, that's what's going to help to facilitate a chance for rain and storm. So it does turn a bit more unsettled. A little zoomed in view here as we look at First Alert Futurecast as we run this through. On Sunday, a chance for a couple of showers by the afternoon hours, primarily near the boundary as it's starting to shift back northward. The surface boundary that will move through here today and tomorrow will help to come back into the area and stall basically right along I-40 heading into Monday and Tuesday. And each day, that coupled with that southerly flow aloft is going to help to facilitate a daily risk for rain and storms. At times, the rain and storms could be heavy, and that will be something that we'll just keep an eye on over the course of the next couple of days. Something we desperately need. The rainfall, we will get that here as well because we are still running a deficit here in the Mid-South. 88 the forecast high for today. Go 85 tomorrow, Friday, upper 80s through the weekend. Now again, when it comes down to rain chances here in the short term, I think it's an on and off situation. Do not expect that it's going to be a complete rain out across the board here today. Even with the 60% rain chance, I think a lot of today is going to be dry. We just have a pocket in the middle that's going to feature better chances for rain and storms. Even tonight, not an all-night washout. There will be off and on chances for rain and storms. Same thing on Thursday, off and on opportunities for rain. We get towards Friday, trending drier, some sunshine breaks. Same thing for Saturday, upper 80s there. Clouds start to thicken up for Sunday, and a late day chance for rain and storms that will lead us into an active start to your next work week and may continue for the extended period as well through the mid portion of next week. Of course, Monday, the beginning of school for Corinth and Mark Tree. Thursday, Marion and Lee County schools getting back into session and may have to tangle with the rain showers, but at least you won't be boiling at the bus stops in those instances, as highs will remain in the 80s, well below average for this time of the year.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. There is an art auction and party that is happening right now till the end of this month at Memphis Botanic Garden. I'm joined right now by Carly Zamora. She is the adult education coordinator there at Memphis Botanic Garden. Such a gem in our area. And I see behind her, she has some of that art. I bet that art is up for auction. Is that right, Carly? Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of decided today that we wanted to give you guys a taste of what our art auction actually looks like. So the art auction itself is actually called Incognito. That is going to be all of our different pieces in our gallery, and we just wanted to show you guys a little tasting.
Fantastic. So it is Incognito Art Auction and Party, and I believe that this has been going on for well over a decade. Is that right?
It has. So I believe it's been about 12 years that the Memphis Botanic Garden's been doing Incognito. We actually partner with Artist Link. Artist Link is kind of a lot of the faces behind a lot of the art pieces you'll see. So this year for Incognito, we actually have over 111 different pieces that you'll be able to come to the garden and see. Like I said, this is about 6 of them. So all different styles. You'll see some that are a little bit remnants of the Memphis Botanic Garden themselves. Also, if you have different styles, we have a lot of different tastes for a lot of different people. So a bunch to see.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So, so if someone, we have thousands of people that watch us each and every morning here, Carly. If someone sees some of this and perhaps they're interested in maybe garnering some of that art, what's the best way for them to kind of check it out, look at it, and then bid on it?
Absolutely. So post-COVID, we actually switched to an online bidding platform, which is amazing because that means no matter where you're from, whether it's Memphis or even if someone's outside of the state and they know that maybe a family member or a friend would like this art, if you go to MIMBG, our Memphis Botanic Garden website, and you go under our upcoming events, you'll see Incognito. If you click on Incognito, it'll take you right to the bidding website. All of our bids actually start at $50 and they go up $10 from there. Or if you're interested in the piece and you really have to have it, you can do our Buy It Now option. Buy It Now is $300, but that means that that piece is guaranteed yours. And we actually had someone have a Buy It Now about 15 minutes prior to taping right now.
Fantastic. And I understand the actual party is later this month where there's going to be all kinds of stuff going on, right? Tell me about it.
Yes. So the actual big party that's happening for the art event is going to be July 28th from 6 to 8 p.m. You can also buy tickets for that on our website. If you'll click on the same link, you'll be able to buy some. The art event is kind of the culmination of all of the different pieces. So the thing with Incognito is all of our pieces are unsigned, meaning you don't know who the artist is. You may have an idea of some maybe local Memphis celebrities that are participating, but none of them are signed on the front, so you won't know. And then on July 28th, when we have the actual party, you'll have some cocktails, some small bites, able to walk around, look on the pieces. And then at 8 p.m., when the event actually finishes, that's when all of the artists will be revealed. So any artists that participate and come, a lot of times they dress incognito as well in their own fun costumes. We've had a lot of different fun dress up situations in the past. And we have them stand by their art pieces and they're able to have like the grand reveal when the clock starts at 8 p.m.
That's fantastic. I love it. What else can we talk about, Carly, with relations to this art and the party that's scheduled for later this month?
Yeah, absolutely. So like we were saying, Incognito is in partner with Artist Link. It's a group that we work with pretty often. Artist Link is actually most of these pieces, like we said, but we also get a lot of pieces from people participating in our art classes here at the Memphis Botanic Garden. So we have several art classes led by a few different artists, oil, acrylic, watercolor, and students that actually came and learned these techniques in our classes, then we're able to apply them to art pieces and enter our show this year. So that's something else cool that you can do if you maybe want to get your hands on trying different art styles. And you maybe tried one in the past, but you want to try watercolor, or if you want to try and make some pieces like the ones you see behind us. That's a really cool opportunity for people is to come do our art classes.
What is the website again, Carly?
Absolutely. So you can either Google Memphis Botanic Garden and it should be membg.org. And that way you can log on, see all of our different events going on. You can see all of our upcoming classes. Anything that you could kind of want to try. And then if you also wanted to buy our tickets to Incognito or see the pieces, All of the pieces are on the website under the incognito tab, and that way you can see maybe something catch your eye.
Absolutely. Okay, there's some nice, definitely some nice art behind you. Carly Zamora, we really appreciate your time and everything that you and all the good folks at the Memphis Botanic Garden do each and every day throughout the year. Thank you so much for coming on the digital desk. Good luck at the auction and the party later this month.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, appreciate you. Another live look from our High Five camera here outside our studios in Midtown. Lots of clouds out there. Some rain's on the way. We'll be talking about that in 1 minute. Wow, big balloon.
It's Ashley's 30th.
Whoa, milestone. We are talking with someone within the Methodist Transplant Institute who donated one of her kidneys to a stranger about 7 years ago. I'm joined now by Joanne Morris. She is someone who did this within the transplant unit. She's a dietitian at Methodist. Joanne, good morning. I appreciate you joining us on the digital desk. Tell me about your journey. How did we get to this point?
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me and letting me share a little bit about my story in organ donation. So I've been a dietitian at Methodist here for 11 years, and it was never on my bucket list or something to do to give away a kidney to a stranger, but working with patients day in and day out in our transplant clinic, I just felt like I was better educated and aware about the critical need of needing more living donors, and then also seeing the joy of people receiving their kidneys. And I just felt called by God, this is something that I needed to do.
That is amazing, and it's an incredible selfless act. I appreciate you sharing your story with us. And so was it just working day in and day out at the Transplant Institute where you just felt called to give your kidney to a stranger?
Yes, so I mean, definitely pulls on the heartstrings to see people suffering, because kidney disease is something that affects your quality of life day in and day out. And not all conditions and diseases have treatments like kidney disease does. I mean, there is kidney transplant, so that definitely improves somebody's quality of life. I was very fortunate that I did not have a direct family member or friend who needed my kidney, but I have learned kidneys do not care where they go, and I didn't care either. And it was just important to me that somebody improve their life and get off of dialysis.
Wow. Okay. So tell us about the recovery process, because I think a lot of people would be very intimidated with the idea of being healthy and then deciding to give a kidney to someone who they don't know, and that whole process. What's the recovery, and what was the recovery like for you?
Right. So my surgery and recovery went very much textbook, like the team told me it would. They told me it would take 4 to 6 weeks to completely recover, and it did. I was in the hospital 3 days, went home to my family who helped take care of me. And other than, of course, the incisional pain, I had no other major complications, and that was pretty much gone by 2 weeks. So other than just taking a short pause on my life for about 6 weeks, it didn't negatively impact my life at all.
That's incredible, Joan. Tell me a little bit more about how and if your quality of life has changed.
Right. So before donating, I was working, active, a mother, and I was able to continue doing those things. I came back to work here at the transplant clinic 5 weeks after my donation. And then we wanted to extend our family, which we were able to do. And I gave birth to a little beautiful girl about a year after I donated. I love to hike the national parks, and I go hiking and working and enjoy all my same passions. So it did not have any negative impacts on my quality of life whatsoever.
And there are a lot of people that are on the list right now looking for a kidney donor, right? Can you talk a little bit about that and how people are on dialysis and they need a donor right away?
Right. So living donation is the best option. It gives you so many more years of quality of life, 15 to 25 years from a living donor kidney, which is amazing to think that you can give somebody an extra 25 years of those big milestones and small moments with their families. Dialysis, of course, is a great way to maintain your life till a transplant, but it's not optimal quality of life. And so that's where living donors and deceased donors can come in to kind of bridge the gap.
What do you wish everyone knew about organ donation? Maybe some misconceptions out there.
Right. So some misconceptions is you don't have to know you're a recipient. Kidneys do not care where they go. Number two, you don't have to be in perfect health. I've definitely, working with the transplant team for the last 11 years, we take donor safety as a top priority. And I fully trusted them with my own donation evaluation that they would have never pushed me through if I wasn't a great candidate. So you don't have to be in perfect health. Don't rule yourself out. You also don't have to be a remarkable or completely inspirational person. You can just be a regular person like me to do this. And it's been one of the most joyful things I've ever done. And I don't ever have any regrets with my donation.
You said you're a mother, and how many kids do you have, if you don't mind me asking? And you mentioned that you had a kid after you gave your kidney, right?
I did. So when I donated, I had a 2-year-old beautiful boy who is going to be 10 this summer. And then it was definitely important to me and my husband that we wanted to still extend our family after I donated. So for donor safety, most transplant teams ask mothers consider waiting 6 months to a year after donating to have another child. And then I gave birth to my beautiful little girl about a year after I donated.
Wow. Okay. Is there a place where someone can go online and just kind of learn more about, not just your story, just the whole process?
Correct. So you, of course, can learn at our Methodist Hospital University website. And then you can go to thebigaskbiggive.com or the National Kidney Foundation. There's so many good quality resources that patients can learn about living and deceased donation. So especially if you're feeling called to do that, educate yourself. Don't rule yourself out. You can fill out a questionnaire online, and then a nurse coordinator will call you to ask you more questions.
Anything else you want to say, Joan? You are quite the inspiration this morning.
Well, this wasn't my life plan to do this. I'm very grateful I was able to do it. There's such a high need of people to be living donors and deceased donors, and it's not as overwhelming as sometimes the misconception is. It's had no negative impacts on my life, and it's a beautiful thing just to give to really help somebody. So especially if you enjoy giving, it's a beautiful, valuable thing to do to help your community.
Joan Morris, we appreciate you, dietitian at the Methodist Transplant Institute, also donated your kidney to a total stranger there. I appreciate you telling us this story, and thank you for really kind of shedding a light on not just your story, but the whole process of donating a kidney, being perfectly healthy before and after. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much.
talk about it. We're talking about menopause. I know a lot of women don't like to talk about this issue. Is this something that, or can you just kind of first talk about what is it for those who don't know?
Sure. So, menopause is a point in time when you've gone through 12 consecutive months without a period or a menstrual cycle.
Okay, and how does this affect women, and at what age point does this usually start? Does it vary?
Yeah, so the average age of menopause in the United States is 52. Of course, it can start younger or older, and both can have its implications, but the length varies.
Okay, okay. And I mean, you said around 52, correct?
That's right.
Okay. And so how, aside from the cycles, how do women know that this is beginning, that things are starting to change?
Yeah, so women experience menopause differently, and that's why there is no one set universal symptom. However, some women may start noticing irregular periods. Some may have bothersome hot flashes or night sweats. Some may experience sleep disturbances. Some report vaginal dryness or difficulty with sexual intercourse. Some may also need to get up and go to the restroom at night more frequently and a lot. Sometimes women report some emotional changes and mood changes, racing heart, palpitations, headaches. I mean, you can name it and list it, but the list goes on and on. Weight gain, difficulty focusing, brain fog, hair loss. So, yeah.
Lots of different things that I can imagine are difficult to go through because it's something that most, not all women will go through at some point. What can they do to kind of deal with this, to deal with these symptoms that are inevitable at some point?
Yeah. So I think we all need to start with the conversations and being open about it. Conversation with your peer, with your friend, with your family, and of course with your physician and your provider. So as women are around in their 50s and 40s, they are usually done with childbearing. So sometimes they forget that they need to go back to their gynecologist. So this is a good thing to kind of remember, that an annual visit to your gynecologist may help with talking about these symptoms. And you can also bring this up with your primary care provider or physician and kind of at least have a conversation. Is this something that we need to explore further?
Absolutely, and really kind of reduce some of that stigma that's associated with the conversations. I know there are some menopause support groups. Can you tell me more about that and what it does?
Yeah, so lots of menopause support groups have come up, whether in online or in person, depending on what the women, what kind of interface the women are interacting with. So one such group is ours in Memphis, and our goal is to empower women to lead a more vibrant and more active life as they age. So I, along with some other healthcare experts, provide evidence-based information on a monthly basis on such topics as hot flashes, on sexual health, and on maintaining strong bones, on healthy eating, emotional health, breast health, everything that's related to menopause and postmenopause and perimenopause. So it's open to employees, to physicians, to non-physicians, to patients, to our community, to kind of come together and have a face-to-face conversation with people who are probably in a similar boat, and also with people who can provide evidence-based information on these topics.
That is so good to know. Before we wrap up, can you just kind of reiterate how important it is that women are having those conversations with their doctors, once the symptoms stop, and kind of the importance of not waiting to talk about it?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. We are looking at more and more evidence on women who have more turbulent menopause transition and going into menopause and postmenopause. And by meaning more turbulent, meaning having more symptoms, their cardiovascular health is at risk in future. So it is more important to address it when these symptoms happen around this time, because there is treatment for it, and it should be initiated sooner than later, because if we wait too long, one, it has already taken its toll on the body, and two, the options decrease the further we wait from menopause time. So that is one plea to my patients and to anybody listening to this, that if you're thinking about talking about this, it's better now than late, because it's probably going to have a toll on your cardiovascular health, your mental health, and all the other aspects. So here I am.
All right, Dr. Khanna, thank you so much for your time and sharing this really critical information with us. We've got viewers all over, be it the Mid-South and beyond, who get this info on our digital desk. So appreciate your time. Is there anything else you wanted to add or say that we might have missed this morning?
Yeah, if women and anybody who's listening to this and would like to get more evidence-based information, I highly recommend going online to the Menopause Society's website, because there's so much information out there. So it's important that they get their information from the right place. So it's, again, the North American Menopause Society, or the Menopause Society, menopause.org. And they can also find certified menopause providers through that website, wherever they're living. So I would highly recommend that the listeners do that.
All right, really great information today. Thank you so much, Dr. Khanna. Again, appreciate your time.
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 digital desk here on a Wednesday rather. Here's a look at what we got going on here across the area. Of course, we're still trending towards some opportunities for rain and storms moving across the Mid-South as we go through this Wednesday. Of course, some scattered downpours from time to time. It looks like as a weak disturbance pushes directly across the area, we'll see a little uptick in rain chances as we head towards the latter half of the morning into the early afternoon hours. Rain chances will taper off and the heat will crank up a little bit, but not to the same extent as what we've seen in recent days. And that won't be the case anytime soon. It seems like the middle 90s have gone away, it seems like, over the course of the next several days. And you'll see that here on the 10-day forecast when we get to it. As far as First Alert Futurecast is concerned, looking to the west of us, it's been a very active overnight period and morning period across north central Arkansas, stretching through the Ozarks back up towards southwestern portions of Missouri. These areas here inundated with very heavy rainfall, some spots over a foot of rainfall in just about the last 12 hours, and it continues to rain. Now, as far as this is concerned, it will begin to make some progress eastward in our direction. That'll help to facilitate at least some opportunities for some rain and storms as we head towards the latter half of the morning into the afternoon hours. The front is still lodged to the north of us. It's going to start to slip a little farther south as we head into the overnight period tonight into the start of your Thursday, kicking up yet again another round of scattered showers and storms. Little area of low pressure coming out of Arkansas will slide across the area tomorrow morning, kicking up again some more showers and rumbles of thunder during the overnight period of your Thursday into early Friday. Shifting out of here, we should be able to get some more sunshine to build into the area for your Friday, and temperatures running cooler with highs only in the 80s as we head towards the back end of this week. That's going to be a common trait. As I mentioned, not looking to see any upward mobility on the temperatures as we head through much of the next 10 days. Highs in the mid-80s Thursday, Friday, upper 80s coming up on Saturday. Same thing on Sunday. And the general trend here in the next 6 to 10 days, well, below average as far as temperatures are concerned. The average high is 92. We'll go with highs generally 80s between now and then. Well, the other part of the forecast is part of the reason why we are not going to see a big surge in heat anytime soon. Well, the heat dome has then shifted off towards the south and east of us. Actually, it's 2 heat domes, one across the southeastern coastline and one over in the western United States. Lodged in between is a trough of low pressure, bringing us here in the Mid-South a persistent southerly flow. Now, that persistent southerly flow, as a general rule, is going to help to facilitate a daily chance for rain and storms, and also just a muddled, unsettled pattern all the way throughout much of next week. And each time you get a little disturbance to ripple through this little funneling effect here, that's what's going to help to facilitate a chance for rain and storm. So it does turn a bit more unsettled. A little zoomed in view here as we look at First Alert Futurecast as we run this through. On Sunday, a chance for a couple of showers by the afternoon hours, primarily near the boundary as it's starting to shift back northward. The surface boundary that will move through here today and tomorrow will help to come back into the area and stall basically right along I-40 heading into Monday and Tuesday. And each day, that coupled with that southerly flow aloft is going to help to facilitate a daily risk for rain and storms. At times, the rain and storms could be heavy, and that will be something that we'll just keep an eye on over the course of the next couple of days. Something we desperately need. The rainfall, we will get that here as well because we are still running a deficit here in the Mid-South. 88 the forecast high for today. Go 85 tomorrow, Friday, upper 80s through the weekend. Now again, when it comes down to rain chances here in the short term, I think it's an on and off situation. Do not expect that it's going to be a complete rain out across the board here today. Even with the 60% rain chance, I think a lot of today is going to be dry. We just have a pocket in the middle that's going to feature better chances for rain and storms. Even tonight, not an all-night washout. There will be off and on chances for rain and storms. Same thing on Thursday, off and on opportunities for rain. We get towards Friday, trending drier, some sunshine breaks. Same thing for Saturday, upper 80s there. Clouds start to thicken up for Sunday, and a late day chance for rain and storms that will lead us into an active start to your next work week and may continue for the extended period as well through the mid portion of next week. Of course, Monday, the beginning of school for Corinth and Mark Tree. Thursday, Marion and Lee County schools getting back into session and may have to tangle with the rain showers, but at least you won't be boiling at the bus stops in those instances, as highs will remain in the 80s, well below average for this time of the year.
There is a novel I want to tell you about that just was released this week, and this is about Memphis. And we know that Memphis has an incredible history. It has so many different things that makes it great. And this novel takes place here, and it is, by all accounts, another bestseller for Ace Atkins. He has had 13 novels. He's a New York Times bestseller, and he is joining us right now on the Action News 5 digital desk. Ace, it's a pleasure to talk with you. Tell me about your latest novel. This is fantastic.
Yeah, and Andrew, probably telling a little bit about my age. It's actually my 30th book.
Oh my gosh.
30th. I've been in this business for quite some time. I live in Oxford, but I really feel like Memphis is my home city. You know, this is the place where I do a lot of business. I love eating here. I love hanging out here. I feel like it's my second home. And this book is really Don't Let the Devil Ride, a celebration of all things Memphis. You know, and it's not just a cursory gloss over when some people set things in Memphis where I mentioned barbecue and Beale Street and that kind of stuff. It's a full out, most of it's set, a lot of it's set in Central Gardens, you know, part of it in Orange Mound. It's all over the place. It's a very diverse book.
That's fantastic. My mistake, 30 novels. That's unbelievable. Congratulations on all of your success.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about, I've heard you talk about it. The title is Don't Let the Devil Ride. Tell me where that title came from and just a little snippet of the book.
Well, we had such a hard time with the title. So it's a crime thriller. There's got a lot of action and comedy and that kind of thing. But boy, did we have a tough time with the title. The original title was called Suspicious Minds. And somebody in the marketing department thought, well, I don't know if that sounds Memphis enough. But to me, it sounded very, very Memphis. But we ended up getting what I think is even a better title. Don't Let the Devil Ride is from a classic gospel song. And I thought, to me, it really sounds like Memphis.
It sounds amazing, and so brief. And you mentioned it takes place in Central Gardens.
Yeah.
What else can you tell our audience?
Well, it's about a woman. You know, it starts off. It's a very varied group of characters. It's not just about one person. It's told through the viewpoints of many different characters. But there's a woman named Addison McKellar who lives in a very stately home in Central Gardens. She has 2 kids. One of them goes to Presbyterian Day School. The daughter goes to Hutch. They are members of the Memphis Country Club. I'm sure your viewers will know exactly the people I know about.
Oh, yeah.
And the husband, Dean McKellar, ends up going on a business trip to London, and he's gone 3, 4, 5 days, then a week. And Addison McKellar back home doesn't hear from him. She tries to text him. She tries to reach out to the hotel. Cannot get any answers. Cannot get any answers from his personal assistant. So she ends up driving from Central Gardens downtown, where he's had his office for years, in the Cotton Exchange building, goes up to the 3rd floor, and the building or the office is now being occupied by a interior design company. And so they don't know who Dean McKellar is. They've never heard of this Dean McKellar construction. So she's left flummoxed, frustrated, wanting to get answers of not only concerned about her husband, but who is my husband?
I love it. I love it. It sounds great. I can't wait to read it. You have lived in Oxford, Mississippi now for the better part of 2 decades. Is that right?
It doesn't seem like it, but yeah, I've been there for almost 25 years. And,
oh, wow.
You know, and again, Memphis is, you know, Oxford is my hometown, but Memphis is my home city.
I gotcha. I gotcha. So tell me a little bit about yourself. I read that you were originally, and this is going, I guess, with the novel here, you were a crime beat reporter back in the day. Tell me about that.
I was, and I think that was perfect training for me to really write, you know, a crime novel. I lived in Tampa. I worked for the Tampa Tribune. I worked briefly for the St. Petersburg Times, and I covered the police department, the sheriff's office. I covered homicides and kidnappings. In fact, it's a long story, but that's one way I met my wife. She was actually a rival reporter at another newspaper, and so through that, I knew ultimately I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to write novels. I wanted to write crime novels. I loved Elmore Leonard and Robert Parker, and you know, even going back to like John Grisham and The Firm, and you know, that's ultimately what I wanted to do. But being a journalist not only helped me with the authenticity of the book, but also working with editors, getting better at what you do, and it was a very formative time for me.
It sounds like it. And then, and from my understanding, you started writing full time at the age of 30.
Yeah.
Tell me what that was like for all those aspiring authors out there that want to write a book. How do you make that transition from a full-time job doing something completely different to actually writing and getting paid enough to make it full-time?
Well, I think some people have a misconception of what an author does. And when I first started, you know, 30 years ago, you know, being published, people, I think, understood it a little bit better, which was, you know, you're working with a major company in New York, you're working with a major publisher, they're paying you to produce these books, and you're going out on book tour, and it's very exciting. And now in the digital age, I think it maybe lessened a little bit what an author is. You know, I'm an old school author. You know, I'm fortunate enough to work with HarperCollins, one of the largest publishers in the country. But I don't even tell people on the plane that I'm an author, because inevitably somebody will say, well, so is my uncle. He put something out. And I said, well, they uploaded a book. That's not publishing a book. But it's a great career. I love it. I don't know anything else that I would do. You know, the industry that I came from, unfortunately, is getting smaller and smaller. But writing books, writing crime books, writing about a place like the city of Memphis and bringing these characters alive, it's just so much fun.
And you know, a lot of your fans, Ace, might not know that you had this background in Auburn football, and I mean,
I can't escape it.
I mean, you played, you know, on the defensive line, right? I mean,
Yeah, I
for
did.
Auburn, for the Auburn Tigers, and you were part of that undefeated season. That due to suspension, you know, you couldn't really play at a bowl game, but. Certainly,
you had to bring up the suspension.
well,
that's why I don't have a national championship ring on right now.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But how did you know, that team concept, having played a part of big time college football, how did that instill and maybe help your professional career as an author grow?
You know, I didn't think that much about it when I was doing it. And, you know, I also would always hear things about football teaching you life lessons and making you work harder. And I wasn't really sure if that was the case. But as an older person now we're looking at 30 years on since I played football. And trust me, my joints know exactly it's been 30 years ago. Yeah, I think it's working every day. It's working towards a goal. It's trying to get better. It's trying to write another book that tops the next one. It's always on to the next season, which is your next novel. So yeah, I think I took something from it.
What would be your writing style that you would give someone who, you know, we have thousands of people that watch us here on the Digital Desk that, you know, someone is hearing about you for the first time. They're interested in this book. It's set in Memphis, Central Gardens. What would you, how would you compare your style of writing?
I think, you know, I come from very, you know, old school, you know, kind of writing style from, you know, Dashiell Hammett and Raymond Chandler. One of my friends, good friends, and also a hero of mine was Elmore Leonard. So, you know, if you've seen movies like Get Shorty and Out of Sight, you know, crime movies with a little bit of comedy in them, a lot of laughs, you know, and it's hard when I explain a story like Addison that her husband is missing. This is not a run and gasp kind of book. She's not even really that upset by it other than just being lied to. And it's equally the story about a guy named Porter Hayes, who is a legend in the city of Memphis. This is a guy that has had an office down on 2nd and Madison, you know, since 1971, and is a hero in the black community. He was a good friend, a karate partner of Elvis Presley. So the Memphis story runs deep. But yeah, I mean, if you like, you know, Elmore Leonard, John Grisham, you know, Southern novels, Greg Iles, but certainly if you want to come in and have some laughs, and if you know the city of Memphis, I think you're going to get even more out of it.
All right, Ace Atkins, Mid-Southerner, New York Times bestseller, author of some 30-plus novels. The latest, Don't Let the Devil Ride. It is out this week. Anything else before we let you go?
Just buy the book. I mean, that's why I'm here. This is it. Get out, buy the book, buy multiple copies, buy them for your friends, and put Memphis, you know, on top.
We love it. All right, Ace Atkins, we appreciate your time on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I'm looking forward to this next interview because I found it so timely with what we are dealing with now, with a ramp up to a big contentious presidential election in November. Some of the rhetoric is very much over the top. It's very heated. It's very partisan. And oftentimes there are just, you know, situations where people get very upset at the other side. They get very frustrated. They get very triggered, and they want to cancel, and among other things, or sometimes even worse. Well, there are ways to disagree without disrespect. There are ways to do things that are not so volatile, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term. There, in fact, is a book that is titled Disagree Without Disrespect: How to Respectfully Debate Those Who Think, Believe, and Vote Differently from You. The author of that book is joining me now, Philip Blackett. He is the author joining us on the digital desk. Philip, good to have you on the digital desk. So tell me some of the reasons behind writing a book like this.
Well, good morning, Andrew. Thankful to be here with you. And I think to answer your question, a lot of times when we're going through our most important relationships, we're going to come across people that we don't agree with on everything, right? You think about family, friends, people you work as far as colleagues are concerned, people in your neighborhood. And so essentially what came off was, for me, what started as a 4th of July family encounter where my sister and I were talking about an issue that we were on opposite sides of the spectrum on. My mother jumps in to paraphrase, says, we're not going to get involved with this debate here because I'm not trying to see fireworks before the actual fireworks later on tonight. Where at that moment, while I appreciate her intent to preserve the peace between my sister and I, the impact of it was essentially a lost opportunity because my sister and I don't see each other often. And I think in a world of social media, text messages, smartphones, some conversations are better to be had in person, face to face, than others. But the fear of having a disagreement, though, has a lot of people, myself and my family included, not even broaching that subject. So what came off to my mind was, if that was the case for me, and that's not even talking about politics, money, or religion, but just any distance or difference of opinion on any issue that could run the risk of you getting cursed out on social media, the cold shoulder from family members, or even unfollowed or canceled or unfriended, what can we come up with a framework that's simple to apply, that anybody can apply in their own relationships? And that's what came off this 5-step framework I did in my book, Disagree Without Disrespect: How to Respectfully Debate with Those Who Think, Believe, and Vote Differently from You.
I love it. And, given the course of where we are, not only the political climate, which is so heated right now, but also just, everyday things, whether it's sports, whether it's, how to raise your child, what have you. People get very upset when others just don't disagree. And I'm from a generation where, it's okay to disagree. It's okay to be respectful and disagree. So I appreciate your book taking us back to those times. You have in that book a 5-step framework for practical applications. Tell me more about that.
Sure. So I think when you think about it, there's 5 steps to go about this. The first step is we should separate the idea or belief from the identity of the believer. The reason why that's important, Andrew, is the thought of, depending on the issue at hand, the person you talk to, that issue you talk about, that person may be so intertwined with what that is that it becomes essentially who he or she is. And so to criticize that idea comes off as criticizing that person or hating that person, which is very easy for them to get defensive, raise their wall up, be more aggressive towards you, and maybe even name call, where now the debate is no longer debate, it's now gotten personal. Step number 2.
I was gonna let me jump in for a second. So how do you bring down the temperature of that? If someone says, well, I disagree with this, and the person that you're disagreeing with says, hey, that's who I am, how do you bring down the temperature of that?
So we have to acknowledge that, there's a lot of ideas that we are very tied to that mean a lot to us. And that's not a bad thing. What is important, though, is being able to underscore that we're talking about the idea at hand. And this gets into step 2, I would say, where 2 things can be true. I can disagree with your idea, Andrew, and I can still respect and love you as my friend. So something that I was taught in church when I was growing up in Memphis was hate the sin, love the sinner. So it could be a place where I can disagree with an idea, but be very clear to the person that my love for you is not contingent on whether or not we agree. We can still talk to one another, be friends, have fun, work together, even if we disagree. Because I would think to myself, there's a lot of relationships, especially marriages out there, that have gone the distance 5, 10, 20, 50 years down the line. And those people didn't agree on everything, but yet they're still together. So what can we learn from that and apply to our relationships with people that we aren't married to?
So you grew up in Memphis, huh?
I grew up in Memphis. I was raised by my mother and my grandparents. We used to watch Action News 5 with my grandparents every night at 5 o'clock and 10 o'clock if my grandmother would let me. So this is definitely a personal thing to be able to share this with you.
Fantastic. Okay, good stuff. Appreciate that. So take me through. So we got that step. What's the next one?
So step number 3, when you set the groundwork, the stage where we can actually have a talk on the actual issue at hand, we're not getting personal, we're not going to demean anybody. Let's discuss and debate the idea at hand based on its merits. What do I mean by that? We're talking about including facts, logic, research, reviews, performance, results. You know, like try to make this as objective of a comparison or debate as possible. What we don't want to get involved with, Andrew, is name calling. Because once you get involved with calling people outside of their given name, it's no longer a debate. It's now gotten personal and borderline ugly. We don't want to go into that sort of realm, but we want to keep it on a apples to apples comparison of the issue at hand.
I love that. I know we have 3 more points. We're running out of time, so I'll let you get to those 3 points.
Yep. So there's actually 2 last points. So basically, at the end of the debate, let's do what we did when we were, playing sports as a young person. At the end of the game, win or lose, what did we do? We shook hands and said, "Good game." Good sportsmanship was appreciated back then when we were playing sports as a young person. Good sportsmanship is appreciated now when we're adults having these type of debates, because no one likes a sore winner. No one likes a sore loser. But more importantly, step number 5, appreciate the person afterwards. Keep the door open for continued conversation, because hopefully the relationship between you two is more important than who's right or who's wrong.
You know, it sounds like common sense. I mean, it sounds great. And it's a breath of fresh air to hear you, Philip, talk about that. And I really hope that this book, just resonates with so many people out there. Of course, we have thousands of people watching us here in the Memphis and Mid-South area. Where can people pick up your book? And are you going to be around town anytime to do some signings?
So I would say the best place to find it is on Amazon. So you can look up the book titled Disagree Without Disrespect, How to Respectfully Debate with Those Who Think, Believe, and Vote Differently from You. Or you can look it up by my name, Philip Blackett, PhilipBlackett. And I still have family in Memphis. Don't have plans in the near future, but would like to go sometime soon to be able to visit. But yeah, Amazon's the best place to go to find my books, or to go on my website, philipblackett.com.
Before I let you go, Philip, was there anything that surprised you putting this book together?
I think the timing, because, when I was growing up in Memphis politics, there's always disagreement. I think what's surprising now is that with social media, with the news cycle the way it is now compared to 30 years ago, disagreements are much more volatile and they're much more personal. And so I think for me, the timing of the book, where it primarily was supposed to help me, I realized was just a greater need for a lot of people beyond just myself.
He is Philip Blackett, and he has written a new book that everybody should at least check out and read a little bit. Disagree Without Disrespect, How to Respectfully Debate Those Who Think, Believe, and Vote Differently from You. Really appreciate you coming on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Good luck, congratulations as you talk to others about that 5-step way, that 5-step framework for practical solutions, so that we really respect everyone, even though we disagree. It's a for me, it's not a problem. It's not an issue. I do this all the time. But for so many others, it's so hard to do. And I really hope it it resonates with so many others out there. Thank you so much for writing it, Philip, and best of luck to you.
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 digital desk here on a Wednesday rather. Here's a look at what we got going on here across the area. Of course, we're still trending towards some opportunities for rain and storms moving across the Mid-South as we go through this Wednesday. Of course, some scattered downpours from time to time. It looks like as a weak disturbance pushes directly across the area, we'll see a little uptick in rain chances as we head towards the latter half of the morning into the early afternoon hours. Rain chances will taper off and the heat will crank up a little bit, but not to the same extent as what we've seen in recent days, and that won't be the case anytime soon. It seems like the middle 90s have gone away, it seems like, over the course of the next several days, and you'll see that here on the 10-day forecast when we get to it. As far as First Alert Futurecast is concerned, looking to the west of us, it's been a very active overnight period and morning period across north central Arkansas, stretching through the Ozarks back up towards southwestern portions of Missouri. These areas here inundated with very heavy rainfall, some spots over a foot of rainfall in just about the last 12 hours, and it continues to rain. Now, as far as this is concerned, it will begin to make some progress eastward in our direction. That'll help to facilitate at least some opportunities for some rain and storms as we head towards the latter half of the morning into the afternoon hours. The front is still lodged to the north of us. It's going to start to slip a little farther south as we head into the overnight period tonight into the start of your Thursday, kicking up yet again another round of scattered showers and storms. Little area of low pressure coming out of Arkansas will slide across the area tomorrow morning, kicking up again some more showers and rumbles of thunder during the overnight period of your Thursday into early Friday. Shifting out of here, we should be able to get some more sunshine to build into the area for your Friday, and temperatures running cooler with highs only in the 80s as we head towards the back end of this week. That's going to be a common trait. As I mentioned, I'm not looking to see any upward mobility on the temperatures as we head through much of the next 10 days. Highs in the mid-80s Thursday, Friday, upper 80s coming up on Saturday, same thing on Sunday. And the general trend here in the next 6 to 10 days, well, below average as far as temperatures are concerned. The average high is 92. We'll go with highs generally 80s between now and then. Well, the other part of the forecast is part of the reason why we are not going to see a big surge in heat anytime soon. Well, the heat dome has then shifted off towards the south and east of us. Actually, it's two heat domes, one across the southeastern coastline and one over in the western United States. Lodged in between is a trough of low pressure, bringing us here in the mid-south a persistent southerly flow. Now, that persistent southerly flow, as a general rule, is going to help to facilitate a daily chance for rain and storms, and also just a muddled, unsettled pattern all the way throughout much of next week. And each time you get a little disturbance to ripple through this little funneling effect here, that's what's going to help to facilitate a chance for rain and storm. So it does turn a bit more unsettled. A little zoomed in view here as we look at First Alert Futurecast as we run this through. On Sunday, a chance for a couple of showers by the afternoon hours, primarily near the boundary as it's starting to shift back northward. The surface boundary that will move through here today and tomorrow will help to come back into the area and stall basically right along I-40 heading into Monday and Tuesday. And each day, that coupled with that southerly flow aloft is going to help to facilitate a daily risk for rain and storms. At times, rain and storms could be heavy, and that will be something that we'll just keep an eye on over the course of the next couple of days. Something we desperately need. The rainfall, we will get that here as well because we are still running a deficit here in the Mid-South. 88 the forecast high for today. Go 85 tomorrow, Friday, upper 80s through the weekend. Now again, when it comes down to rain chances here in the short term, I think it's an on and off situation. Do not expect that it's going to be a complete rain out across the board here today. Even with the 60% rain chance, I think a lot of today is going to be dry. We just have a pocket in the middle that's going to feature better chances for rain and storms. Even tonight, not an all-night washout. There will be off and on chances for rain and storms. Same thing on Thursday, off and on opportunities for rain. We get towards Friday, trending drier, some sunshine breaks. Same thing for Saturday, upper 80s there. Clouds start to thicken up for Sunday, and a late day chance for rain and storms that will lead us into an active start to your next work week and may continue for the extended period as well through the mid portion of next week. Of course, Monday, the beginning of school for Corinth and Mark Tree. Thursday, Marion and Lee County schools getting back into session and may have